Chapter 355. Shanghai, the Bund. It was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. The night sky was like a huge and thick black curtain, so deep that it could not be dispersed. The strong night wind blew away the dust that shrouded the city, and the twinkling stars quietly appeared. Under the night sky, a long light belt extended along the Huangpu River. The gorgeous neon lights highlighted the splendor of the Oriental Pearl Tower. The boats on the river were weaving, and the sound of steam whistles could be heard from afar. All kinds of Gothic, Roman, Baroque, and East-West architectural expositions were displayed in the night, releasing the charm of this city that never sleeps. 100 meters away from the Bund Square, Jinhui Jewelry sent off the last few customers and was ready to close. The shop assistants, who had been standing for most of the day, finally breathed a sigh of relief. They talked and laughed as they did their last work. For them, a busy day was over. However, at this time, a young couple holding hands appeared at the door. Several shop assistants couldn't help but look bitter. What they hated the most was customers who came when it was about to close. They had to delay the closing time, and everyone had to be present no matter what. And they couldn't give the customers the feeling that they were about to close. In fact, the people who came to this shop were basically tourists from other places, and they couldn't do any business. But no matter how disgusted they were, they still had to squeeze out a standard smile and say in a sweet voice, "Welcome." This was the company's rule, but no matter when or what kind of customers came, as long as the door was open, they had to be warmly welcomed, even if the other party didn't look like they had the money to buy any jewelry in the store. A jewelry shop assistant took the initiative to greet them. She bowed and asked with a smile, "Good evening, and welcome to Jinhui Jewelry. Our store has just received a new batch of goods. The styles are all designed by famous European designers, and the materials are very exquisite. Would you like to take a look?" Her words were actually very skillful. She calmly pointed out the grade of her jewelry store. If the other party was just looking at a new couple, they would most likely back off, which would save them time. But if they were powerful customers, they wouldn't feel offended. While the shop assistant was asking, she was also a little apprehensive because this couple was quite special. The man was very tall and wore a pair of sunglasses, while the woman was slender and graceful and wore a mask. It was impossible to see her true appearance. However, she felt that the two of them looked familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere before. This made the saleswoman even more careful, and her smile became even more sincere. The man smiled and said, "Then let's take a look. Are you closing soon?" The saleswoman quickly said, "No, sir and miss, please come with me. What do you want to see? Ring, necklace, bracelet, or something else?" The man said, "Since you're here, let's take a look." As he spoke, he took off his sunglasses. Ah! Suddenly, a short scream came from the side. The salesperson walking in front couldn't help but turn her head to look. Behind a nearby counter, a colleague was dumbfounded. Her face was flushed, as if she had seen a new world, and her eyes were filled with excitement. The shop assistant rolled her eyes at her, knowing that she was definitely going to be out of luck. The rules of Jinhui Jewelry were very strict. If she yelled in front of customers like this, her salary would definitely be deducted. Even the store manager was watching. However, she soon discovered that the other colleagues here were also showing similar excited expressions. The saleswoman couldn't help but turn around, and then saw the man who had taken off his sunglasses. "Lu Chun," she couldn't help but exclaim softly. This tall and handsome man, wasn't he the male lead of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chun? The saleswoman believed that she couldn't be wrong, because she had watched this TV series 3 times. Every time she watched it, she would cry. She was absolutely familiar with the male and female leads. This was 100% Lu Chun, and the woman holding his hand. Who else could it be but Chun Fei? If it wasn't Chun Fei, then it would be big news. The saleswoman was also dumbfounded. She had seen many different kinds of guests, but it was really the first time that she was in such close contact with her favorite idol. She was completely at a loss. Fortunately, at this time, the manager rushed over and took over her job as the saleswoman. At the same time, the experienced manager asked the staff to close the store. On one hand, it was closing time, and, on the other hand, it was to solemnly entertain the distinguished guests. The purchasing power of these two was unquestionable. Lu Chun took Chun Fei's hand and sat down in front of the jewelry counter. Tonight, he attended Chun Fei's fan meeting and gave her a big birthday surprise. But the real birthday present hadn't been given yet. Lu Chun really didn't have much experience in this area, and he didn't know what to buy for Chun Fei because the latter didn't lack anything at all. So after thinking about it, he didn't buy for now. After the fan meeting, he would kidnap Chun Fei and let her choose what she liked while enjoying the sweet world of the two. The two strolled around the bund for more than half an hour and walked into this stylish jewelry store. Of course, Chun Fei didn't lack jewelry, but the birthday present that Lu Chun wanted to give her was another matter. In fact, since the latter appeared in the center of Mecca, her heart had been full of sweetness and happiness. Even her IQ and EQ had dropped a lot. Not to mention buying jewelry. Even if it was just a 10 yuan spicy hot pot, she would still be satisfied. The store manager asked someone to take out the best jewelry from the safe inside. In big jewelry stores, the best quality and most expensive goods were never directly displayed on the counter. They would only be taken out when meeting specific customers. 3 velvet sandalwood jewelry boxes opened on the counter, immediately attracting Chun Fei's attention. Women's resistance to jewelry was always insufficient. Even Chun Fei was the same. These diamond jewelry were undoubtedly first class. Both the shape and the style were excellent. Even a layman like Lu Chun was quite moved, let alone her. Like a proud queen, Chun Fei tried on more than a dozen pieces of jewelry in one breath, including necklaces, bracelets, brooches, and earrings. She simply couldn't put them down. In the end, she left behind a pink diamond necklace and a ruby brooch. It was difficult to choose. Lu Chun smiled and said, "I'll take both." The store manager said, Yes, these 2 pieces of jewelry really match you. Too perfect." She wasn't just saying good words for the sake of sales, but she really had such an idea. The naturally beautiful Chun Fei should be matched with such jewelry. It could be seen from the eyes of the other staff present. If it weren't for the store's rules, they would probably take out their mobile phones and take pictures of the scene of Chun Fei trying on the jewelry. Chun Fei looked around in the mirror and finally took off the pink diamond necklace. "I'll take this brooch." The store manager sighed secretly. She felt that this necklace was the most suitable for Chun Fei, and the price of the necklace was more than 10 times that of the brooch. A big business was ruined. She could also see that Chun Fei really liked it, but she didn't want Lu Chun to spend too much money. The store manager was very envious of the relationship between the two superstars. Lu Chun smiled and said, "It's good that you like it. Then buy this brooch. I'll pay for it." He winked at the store manager. The store manager was stunned and immediately understood. She immediately smiled and said, "Okay, please come with me. It's over here." After buying the birthday gifts, Lu Chun and Chun Fei returned to the hotel. In the room, they closed the door and couldn't help hugging each other. The fire of love was burning in their hearts, and it was almost out of control. Lu Chun resisted the love in his heart and whispered, "Close your eyes." "Okay." Chun Fei obediently agreed, raised her head and closed her eyes like a girl waiting for her first love shyly. However, she didn't wait for Lu Chun's passionate kiss, but felt a heavy object on her neck. Chun Fei couldn't help but open her eyes. She looked down and saw a necklace hanging on her neck. It was the pink diamond necklace that she had given up. Chun Fei couldn't help but exclaim, "Why did you buy it?" This pink diamond necklace was priced at more than 2 million in the jewelry store. Even with a discount, it would not be less than 2 million. Although she liked it very much, it was still a little too much as a birthday gift. Chun Fei didn't want Lu Chun to think that she was a greedy woman, so she chose the 100,000 ruby brooch. She didn't expect that Lu Chun would actually buy the necklace. No wonder he was a little sneaky when he wanted to pay for it. As for the store manager, he had a strange expression on his face when he saw the two of them out. So that's why. Lu Chun kissed the tip of her nose and said with a smile, "Because you like it." as long as you like it. And I have money. It's not a problem, even if I buy the whole world for you. If she heard such mushy word from someone else, Chanfei might have goosebumps all over her body. But from Lu Chen's mouth, there was only sweetness and endless love. She couldn't help but tiptoe and took the initiative to give a kiss. She whispered in Lu Chen's ear, "I want you." How could Lu Chen bear it anymore? He immediately bent over and picked her up, rushing to the bedroom. Chun Fei hugged Lu Chen's neck and giggled. "Take a shower first." Lu Chen's eyes were spitting fire. He gritted his teeth and said, "Let's shower together later." The next moment, he hugged Chun Fei and fell on the big bed in the bedroom, pressing this beautiful woman heavily under his body, causing the latter to moan. This romantic night had just begun. Chapter 356. Lu Chen appears at Chun Fei's fan meeting and sends birthday gifts to her. The Heavenly Queen is moved to tears by the song, "In My Voice." Direct to the scene. Witness the most romantic love story. Lu Chen goes to Shanghai to celebrate Chun Fei's birthday. Love and career double harvest. Chun Fei's smile and tears. Chun Fei. On May 1st, International Labor Day, the first day of the domestic mid-year long holiday. Big and small media entertainment sections were once again flooded by the news of Lu Chen and Chun Fei. In the current entertainment industry, Lu Chen and Chun Fei may not be the most popular stars, but in terms of which couple is the most exposed, it is really the two of them. Autumn in My Heart made them the best couple in the hearts of the people, and their status was unshakable. The romantic story that happened last night in the center of Shanghai Mecca has become a hot topic on blogs. There were many live videos that night, which made many people envious and jealous. Women envied Chun Fei for having the best boyfriend, who was tall, handsome, talented, and romantic. Men envied Lu Chen for having a real heavenly queen as a girlfriend, who was beautiful and charming. And fans once again witnessed the beautiful relationship between the two. Because of the arrival of Lu Chen, Chun Fei did not leave immediately after finishing the promotional activities in Shanghai. She spent a sweet May Day with Lu Chen and returned to Beijing on the 2nd. At this point, her nationwide publicity tour has been completed. The effect of 10 days of intensive promotion is still quite good. The pre-sale of a new album is still rising, and part of the crowd-funded commemorative record packages have begun to be sent to Xinhua bookstores all over the country, and will soon appear in the hands of fans. The industry's total sales estimate for the Woman Flower album has been changed to 5 million to 3 million copies, sets. Even if the huge investment in publicity is huge, it is a foregone conclusion to achieve a large profit. Chun Fei's gorgeous turnaround in her singing career was a complete success. Even the most picky people had to admit that her transition in singing style was impeccable. She was truly the new generation of queen of love songs. At the same time, good news came from South Korea. After more than a month of broadcasting, the finale of Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted on KGS. The final episode's ratings were 39, 52% just 48% away from breaking the 40% mark. But as a Chinese drama, such a rating was already a miracle. Most notably, the last 4 episodes of Blue had higher ratings than MBC's annual drama, The Power of the Queen. This made MBC, the second largest TV station in South Korea, very embarrassed because Queen's Power firmly crushed Autumn in My Heart in terms of investment, celebrity lineup, and publicity, but it lost to the latter in the highest ratings. It could only save some face in the average ratings. Chinese dramas did not have much of an audience base in Korea to begin with. The rise of Autumn in My Blood and its challenge to Queen's Power might seem like a competition between 2 different dramas, but it was also a competition between 2 television stations. Of course, MBC was very unhappy and even used public opinion to attack KGS, but this did not affect the success of Blue. Autumn in My Heart had an average rating of 26. 68% in Korea, a perfect ending. When the news spread to China, The industry was shocked to the point of numbness, but the fans were jubilant. Because according to the original promise made by Lu Chun on his blog, 2,668 fans would travel to Korea for free, and it would be a two-person trip. Someone did the math for Lu Chun. According to the price of an ordinary group purchase, he would have to pay at least $13 million. This kind of spending was extremely rare in the entertainment industry. Although it was easy for a celebrity to invest tens of millions of yuan in publicity, it was really unique to take out real money to return tens of millions of yuan to the fans. So, some people in the circle said that Lu Chun was pretending to be fat. It was ridiculous that he had to pay a large sum of money for the copyright to be sold to the Koreans. But the people who said sour words didn't see that after Lu Chun and Chan Fei made the promise of rewards, the fans of both of them increased greatly, especially the fans of Lu Chen's fan group, Lu Jiajun, increased by millions, and the potential benefit effect completely exceeded the tens of millions. In the current entertainment industry, it was all about the fan economy. Only with investment can there be returns. The essence is alternative marketing. In addition, not many people knew that after the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart in Korea, the advertising placement contract for the new drama Full House of Romance, led by Lu Chun and Lu Chun Studio, was basically finalized. On behalf of Lu Chun Studio, Lu Shi signed contracts with 17 domestic and foreign brands, including China Automobile, China Mobile, Thunderbird Watch, Lonja Cosmetics, Senki Apparel, etc., with a total value of more than $22 million. Because this part of the interests and other derivative copyrights are in the hands of Lu Chun and are not shared with other investors, the new drama has not yet started shooting, and the studio has already invested enough money, and it has also realized profits. As for the related novels, comics, brand logos, and other authorizations, they will create more profits. In addition, Autumn in My Heart is still playing a residual heat. TV stations and agents in Japan and several Southeast Asian countries are interested in importing this TV series, and they can make another profit. Under such circumstances, the shortage of funds that Lu Chun Studio once faced was easily solved. Even if he paid for the travel alone, there was no problem. Full House of Romance is scheduled to officially start shooting on May 8th. The locations include China and South Korea, and the total investment is several times that of Autumn in My Heart. There is also a small episode in this, that is the Big V Entertainment View, who made a bet with Lu Chun on Wei's blog. Although his face has already been beaten swollen, he still kept his promise after the average ratings data of Autumn in My Heart in South Korea came out. It's just that the place where he ran naked was not in the crowded streets, but in an empty alley. As a result, it only attracted a lot of sarcasm. And Lu Chun has long forgotten about this matter. He went all out to devote himself to the shooting process of Full House of Romance. At the same time, something quite sensational happened in the film and television circle. Because director Zhang Wentian had an irreconcilable conflict with the investors, the new film project, which was originally expected to start shooting this year, was announced to be postponed indefinitely, which was equivalent to an abortion. So, the movie role that the great director had promised to give to Lu Chun was naturally ruined. Chapter 357. Beijing, Ziqing Garden. Night had just fallen, but there were already lights in the city. In the small dining room of room 1701 of Building 7, there were 4 dishes and 1 soup on the dining table covered with a white embroidered tablecloth. Pan-fried small steak, braised meatballs, home-cooked vegetables, steamed sea bass, and a steaming seafood soup. It was definitely a feast of color, aroma, and taste, making anyone drool just by looking at it. Tian saliva was about to flow down. As soon as her butt touched the dining chair, she couldn't wait to pick up a small steak with her chopsticks and put it into her mouth. She didn't have the demeanor of a lady and started to eat heartily. While eating, she praised Lu Chun, who had just walked out of the kitchen. Lu Chun, your cooking is amazing. You can totally open your own restaurant. I will come to support you every day. Chan Fei, who was sitting opposite her, pursed her lips and smiled. She felt happier than being praised herself. To be honest, When she ate Lu Chen's cooking for the first time, Chanfer was also very surprised. Because Lu Chen's cooking skills couldn't be compared with those of special chefs or national treasure masters, but it was also first class. Generally speaking, without more than 10 years of experience, it was difficult to have such a high level of craftsmanship. But how old was Lu Chen? And he was not a professional chef. Chun Fei didn't ask for the reason. She just felt that Lu Chen was like a treasure buried deep in the ground. The deeper she dug, the more amazing treasures she could dig out. As the owner of the treasure, she was very proud and very proud. Tonight, she showed off a little in front of her best friend. Let them be envious and jealous. Lu Chen reached out and untied the apron around his waist. He picked up the red wine on the table and opened it. He poured it for the two beautiful ladies in a gentlemanly manner and said with a smile, "Well, if I lose my job in the future, I will open a restaurant in Hangzhou. You should bring more friends to support me. I will give you a 10% commission if you bring more friends." Chen Fei laughed. Tian couldn't help but roll her eyes, but her hands moved the chopsticks as if they were flying. Lu Chen sat down and picked up his wine glass with a smile. On the second, he returned to the capital with Chen Fei, and Tian followed them. The former beauty host of Zhidong Satellite TV was going to have a long vacation in Beijing. As a best friend, Chen Fei certainly couldn't let her stay in the hotel, so the guest room of Lu Chen's house in Purple Qingyuan temporarily belonged to her. After the national publicity tour, Chen Fei also gave himself a vacation. He accompanied Tian to play around Beijing, visiting the Forbidden City and the Great Wall. Lu Chen did not have time to accompany them. The filming of Full House of Romance was about to start, and there was still a lot of preparation work to be completed. It was not until the day that he could finally relax and go home early. He simply bought the ingredient from the supermarket and cooked in the evening to comfort the two women at home. Lu Chen's own culinary skills were actually very poor. At most, he could only make an egg fried rice. It was pure wishful thinking to want to make a table of dishes that people could eat satisfactorily. Fortunately, he could cheat. Lu Chen's cheat was naturally the memory from the dream world. In her dream, Fang Mingbo was a true gourmet. Whenever he traveled, the first thing he would do was to look for local delicacies. Then, he would write an article about the delicacies and publish it in a magazine. It was very popular with the readers. In addition to eating, Fang Mingbo could also cook, and his craftsmanship was very good. It was with Fang Mingbo's memory knowledge that Lu Chen was able to show off his skills in front of Chen Fei and Tian. The three of them chatted and laughed and shared a bottle of red wine together. An intoxicating blush appeared on the pretty faces of Chen Fei and Tian. Under the light, they were really as beautiful as jade and pleasing to the eye. Lu Chen secretly sighed that his hard work had not been in vain. After dinner, the work of cleaning the table and washing the dishes was taken over by Chen Fei and Tian. When they finished and came to the small living room upstairs, Lu Chen had already prepared tea. "Sister Fei, you are so lucky." Tian sat on the sofa. She leaned lazily against Chen Fei and murmured, "I have such a good boyfriend." Chen Fei teased her. "Envious, right? Then you should hurry up and find one." Tian unhappily pushed away Chen Fei's hand that was on her chin and complained, "It's not that easy to find one. I don't like people in the circle. Those introduced by my family." She showed a disgusted expression and said, "All they talk about is how rich they are or how they have such taste. Everyone looks at me lecherously. It's very annoying. I'm really tired of it." Chen Fei suddenly realized, "So during the May Day holiday, you came here with me to be a third wheel?" Tian had a look of, "You finally saw through me," and said with a smile, "Who told you to be my good sister? If I don't blame you, who else can I blame? I want to hide in the capital and not go back." Chen Fei said with a smile, "Then your family will definitely send someone to take you back." Tian was not from an ordinary family. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to become a host of Zhidong Satellite TV right after graduation. And in such a family, there are many things that are often beyond one's control. Tian said, "I'm going to resign. Chun Fei was startled. Resign? You're not going to do it in the TV station? Then what are you going to do? After the last accident, my family didn't want me to stay in the station. Tian was distressed. They just want me to find someone to marry and then have a few children to support my husband and teach my children. Chun Fei said with a smile, "It sounds very good." Tian pinched her and said, "Fuck you, I don't want to marry. I think we women must have our own career, otherwise we will be looked down upon. So I decided to start my own company." The fan incident in Hangzhou not only almost caused great harm to Tian, but there were also a lot of rumors afterward, so her family had ideas. But Tian didn't want to marry herself off so early, not to mention that she didn't like any of the so-called young talents, and she was even more dissatisfied with the arrangement of her family. Chun Fei was curious. "Then what company are you going to start?" Tian was suddenly discouraged. "I haven't thought about it yet. I thought about continuing to do media, but the problem is that I have no experience." Even if her family conditions were very good, it was not easy to open a media-related company. Tian didn't want to be the kind of second-hand trafficker who relied on relationships to attract business, so she was very confused in her heart. "Let's start a media company." Lu Chun, who had been listening, suddenly said, "Do a variety show." "Variety show?" Tian was stunned, and then said with a wry smile, "It's not easy to do variety shows now. Nowadays, the entertainment market is extremely prosperous. There are many private media companies. There are many companies that specialize in the production of variety shows and then resell them to TV stations. The famous ones are Superstar Media, Semo Entertainment, and so on. However, because of the high ratings of variety shows, the competition is also extremely fierce. The phenomenon of imitation in the industry is extremely rampant, leading to the serious homogeneity of programs, and the audience has appeared aesthetic fatigue. For example, singing talent shows, such as Supergirl, Super Singer, Singing China, and so on. There is not much difference in the form. It is nothing more than the level of production. There are also star shows, which are nothing more than inviting some stars to interact in the show, play games, and tell jokes. At first, they were quite popular with the audience, but later, the ratings declined year by year, and many of the same shows were cut. Tian has worked at Zhejiang TV station for several years and knows the current situation of variety shows very well. Domestic variety shows were just like the pop music industry. It was time for innovation and breakthroughs. Lucha nodded and said, "It's not easy to do, but I have some ideas." Tian's eyes lit up, and she immediately straightened up and said, "I want to hear it." There is no doubt about Lu Chen's talent. His talent in music is well known, and he can also write novels and screenplays. He plays the male lead, and his first step in a TV series has become popular all over the country. If he gives Tian an idea, it must be a good idea. Tian also knows that the crowdfunding website, which is currently very popular on the internet, was created by Lu Chun, so she can't wait to hear what advice Lu Chun will give her. Lu Chun said with a smile, "My suggestion is to do a singing talent show." Chapter 358. A singing talent show? Tian, who had high hopes for Lu Chun, didn't expect him to put forward such a suggestion. If Lu Chun wasn't her savior and best friend's boyfriend, she would have thrown a contemptuous look at him. "You can't do this to your sister." Even so, Tian's expression was a little strange. Chun Fei couldn't stand it anymore. She said to Lu Chun coquettishly, "Can you still do a singing talent show now?" Not only has she participated in Singing China, but she has also served as a judge for many talent shows before that. She deeply understands the current situation of talent variety shows in China. Especially in the most common singing talent show, the fight between TV stations is already in full swing. If Tian's own media company is involved in it, I'm afraid that even her bones will not be left. Look at what kind of bad idea you came up with. Tian hesitated for a moment and said, "In fact, if you want to do it, you can give it a try." In fact, she didn't mean what she said. It was all to take care of Lu Chen's face. Lu Chun, of course, knew what the two people were thinking. He said with a smile, "The people in charge of the show will change, and the routines will be different. The singing talent show has the widest audience, but in the form of the show, there is great potential to be tapped." Huh? The disappointed Tian couldn't help but have a trace of interest again. Lu Chun is so confident. He must have a good idea. Chun Fei glared at him and said, "Tell me quickly. Don't keep me guessing anymore." Lu Chun chuckled. He thought carefully for a moment in his mind and said, "The singing talent show I envisioned is divided into 4 stages in content production. First of all, the first stage is the blind selection of mentors." Tian was stunned. Blind selection of mentors? Blind as in blind? "That's right," Lu Chun replied. "This is the selection stage of the talent show. The star mentors only choose the voice and are not affected by any other factors. We can design 4 high-back swivel chairs. The mentors can listen to the contestants with their backs facing the stage. If they like it, they can press a button to turn the chair around. If they don't like it, they can sit still until the singer finishes singing." Chun Fei's eyes lit up. "That sounds interesting. This way, the contestants don't have to introduce themselves. They don't have to think of ways to make up a good story. They can rely on their own strength to speak for themselves." That's a good idea. Nowadays, many talent shows are almost reduced to story clubs. They can't survive without a good story. Moreover, there is no lack of people who play to the gallery before the performance, which makes the audience feel embarrassed. Chun Fei was very disgusted with this kind of intentional or unintentional show. Lu Chun's idea undoubtedly avoided these problems and made the talent show more professional. It was definitely a different approach, and turning the chair is much more interesting than pressing the light. Lu Chun continued, "While this segment is a test of the students' singing skills, it's also a competition of judgment between the celebrity mentors. Of course, there is no need to worry even if you're not selected by the instructors at this stage. You can continue training in the training camp and wait for the next opportunity. A mentor can choose up to 14 contestants and students. That's a total of 56. Tian listened and couldn't help but ask, "What's next?" Lu Chun said confidently, "The next stage is the selection of mentors. After the 4-star mentors choose their disciples, they will undergo specialized training. In the end, the disciples will perform on the same stage. As for who will become an outstanding student, it will depend on who can fully tap into their potential during their time under the mentor's tutelage. At this stage, the top 16 contestants will be selected through one-on-one duels." Lu Chun's train of thought became clearer and clearer. Related memories kept emerging in his mind. The third stage is the battle between mentors. This is a test of the teaching ability of the 4 celebrity mentors. After the same amount of training, the results of whose students perform better will also be revealed on the stage. At this stage, 4 contestants under each mentor will participate in a grand competition, and the final 4 will be selected. Lu Chun said in one breath without the slightest hesitation. The last stage is the annual grand ceremony. All the mentors and students will have a large-scale concert. In this grand ceremony, the students will face the test of performing on a big stage for the first time. Their musical talent will also be tested by all the audience. The winner will be determined by the annual grand ceremony. Clap, clap, clap. As soon as Lu Chun's voice fell, crisp applause sounded immediately. The 2 charming women's eyes lit up as they applauded him, applauding for his creativity. As Lu Chun said just now, everyone can change their tricks, and their routines are different. A TV series may not be much different from the same genre in terms of story theme, but the story plot is enough to create a gap. There are as many singing talent shows as there are hairs on an ox, and the phenomenon of homogeneity is extremely serious. Precisely because of this, if you can create a different form of content within this theme and make it refreshing for the audience, then success is in sight. Lu Chun continued, "For such a talent show, there is not a need for many contestants to enter the first stage after the audition, but the level of strength must be guaranteed. What we want is to take the route of quality." Tian couldn't help but say. And mentors, when the time comes, you too must be mentors. Lu Chen's idea gave Tian the hope of success, and if she could pull the two people in front of her, it would be difficult for her to fail, so she must hold on tightly. I will register the company when I go back to Hangzhou. You two must invest in it, or I would rather not do it. Tian's idea was very simple. This idea was Lu Chen's, so she couldn't let him waste his efforts. However, it was meaningless to give some small shares. If she wanted to do it, she should do it big. In the circle, it was very common for star artists to invest in film and television media or entertainment agencies. In most cases, it was a win-win cooperation. Investing in Tian's media company, Lu Chen and Chun Fei looked at each other, and the latter nodded. She hugged Tian and said, "Okay, Chairman Tian." Tian rolled her eyes at her and reached out to grab Chun Fei's sensitive parts. "Then you can be the chairman's secretary and sleep with me at night." Chun Fei retorted, "Okay, let's see who's afraid of who." The two suddenly laughed, their jade arms and legs glistening, completely ignoring Lu Chen, who was next to them. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and could only cough twice. Tian came to her senses and tidied up her dress with a blushing face. She quickly changed the topic and asked Lu Chen, "What should we call this singing talent show?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Let's call it China's Voice." China's Voice? Chun Fei and Tian's eyes lit up when they heard that. It was a very good name. Chapter 359. After staying at Lu Chen and Chun Fei's home for 5 days, Tian left Beijing and returned to Hangzhou. When she came to Beijing, she came out to relax with the idea of avoiding trouble. And when she went back, she was determined to do a career with the dream of starting a business. With the suggestion of Lu Chen and the support of Chun Fei Tian decided to open a media company in Hangzhou, mainly engaged in the production of variety and entertainment programs. The first project of the new company was The Voice of China, and Lu Chen and Chun Fei each invested a part of the capital and became shareholders of the media company. On May 7th, the day before the start of Full House of Romance, Lu Chen was invited by Chen Jinhao to visit the great director Zhang Wentian, who was recuperating in Beijing. Zhang Wentian is one of the representatives of the third generation of directors in China. He once directed 2 big dramas, Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Water Margin in the 1990s, which created a record for the ratings of TV series. The great director has also shot many costume blockbusters. He is good at historical and military-themed films and has won many awards. He is a respected senior in the industry and enjoys a high reputation. Last year, Zhang Wentian was preparing to shoot a historical blockbuster. At that time, Lu Chen met the great director through the introduction of Chen Jinhao and won the other party's recognition with a song, "A Man Should Strengthen Himself," and a small supporting role. However, with the passage of time, things have changed. Now Lu Chen is no longer the small artist who just made his debut, and Zhang Wentian's debut work has been slow to move until the recent news of a conflict with investors broke out, which led to the abortion of the new film. Zhang Wentian was also ill and stayed in the hospital for a few days, which made a lot of noise in the circle. After being discharged from the hospital, the great director refused all media interviews and recuperated in his old house. Chen Jinhao called Lu Chen and invited him to visit the old man. Of course, Lu Chen did not refuse. Zhang Wentian's old house is located in the old city. It is an independent courtyard house. Such a house has become an out-of-print existence in Beijing. The price is at least over 100 million yuan, and there is no market for it. When Chen Jinhao and Lu Chen came over, it was Qin Xing who opened the door for them. Lu Chen haven't seen the campus belle of Jingyin for some time. Last year, he often went to Jingyin to attend classes and could see Qin Xing and chat with her from time to time. But since he started shooting TV series, he basically didn't go to Jingyin, and now he can't find time to recharge. So when he saw Qin Xing, Lu Chen felt a little embarrassed because his studies had been abandoned halfway. Qin greeted the two of them in a natural and unrestrained manner, then led them into the door to see the old man. The renovated and remodeled courtyard exuded a quaint and elegant taste everywhere. Several green bamboos were planted in the corner, and a rattan chair was placed on the grape rack in the courtyard. Zhang Wentian was lying on a rattan chair and drinking tea with an ancient zither next to him. An obese middle-aged man was making tea. The old man's complexion looked pretty good. His face was ruddy and his expression was comfortable. There was a kind of leisurely and complacent taste of not caring about the affairs of the world. Seeing Lu Chun and Chun Jianhao, Zhang Wentian didn't get up. He nodded and said, "Sit down." Of course, the two of them had made an appointment to visit him. Now, this old man was basically in a state of retirement. Not only did he refuse to be interviewed by the media, he rarely even had visitors. Chun Jianhao could be considered to have gained a lot of face. Lu Chun only now learned that Chun Jianhao and Zhang Wentian are relatives. He used to work in the latter's crew, so he can get a bench in front of the great director. "Director Zhang, how are you recently?" As Lu Chun greeted him, he put the gift he brought on the tea table. Although the role of Zhang Wentian's new film was ruined, Lu Chun couldn't come to visit empty-handed. He brought an authentic Korean wild ginseng, worth more than 100,000 yuan. Zhang Wentian knew what was good. After glancing at it, he said half jokingly and half seriously, "Xiao Lu, you're slapping my face. I didn't do what I promised you, and you still sent such a valuable thing." Lu Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Director Zhang, don't joke with this junior. This junior can't afford it. I came here today just to see you. I really have no other meaning." Zhang Wentian laughed and said, "You probably don't like that small role now. The TV series starring you are all popular in South Korea, which has won a lot of face for domestic TV series. Sit down, sit down." He had accepted this gift out of respect for him. People in the industry know that Zhang Wentian rarely accepts gifts from others, especially star artists. If the new film hadn't been aborted, he definitely wouldn't have taken Lu Chen's things, but now it doesn't matter, because he'll find an opportunity to return Lu Chen a favor. With Zhang Wentian's status in the circle, it's really easy to help Lu Chen. There's no problem of not being able to afford it. This is the integrity of the older generation of filmmakers. Lu Chen sat down and said modestly, "Director Zhang, I'm just lucky." He didn't expect Zhang Wentian to pay so much attention to him. "Luck is also part of strength," Zhang Wentian sighed and said, "I don't have such good luck. Today's film market, alas." This time, Zhang Wentian had a conflict with the investors over the issue of the new film. The main reason was this market. The investors required his work to cater to the market. Not only did they modify the script and plot without authorization, but they also interfered in the replacement of the main actors, which was equivalent to depriving the former of a large part of his power as a director. Zhang Wentian is not the kind of person who sticks to tradition. He also recognizes the importance of the market. It's reasonable for investors to ask for huge returns, but he can't accept this kind of behavior of treating him as a puppet. If the two sides can't reach a compromise, then they have to leave. Zhang Wentian was hit hard. He had high hope for this movie and did a lot of work. As a result, because of the problem of concept, all his hard work was ruined. Naturally, his heart was particularly upset. Nowadays, the domestic film market is growing larger and larger, and the size of the box office is comparable to that of the United States. The huge interests have led to the increasingly impetuous mentality of the practitioners. Everyone wants to make big money and fast money, ignoring the essence of film. Zhang Wentian's experience was accidental and inevitable. According to some people, he can't keep up with the times. After resting at home for a few days, Zhang Wentian finally thought it through, and his mind about the movie faded. He is very old now, and he is not short of money or fame. It's almost time for him to retire. Drinking tea and chatting with 3 or 5 friends at home is the right way to live out one's life. As soon as Lu Chen sat down, the fat man next to him poured him a cup of hot tea. Lu Chen quickly said, "Thank you." He thought the other party looked a little familiar. It seemed that he had seen him somewhere before. He was definitely not a nobody. Zhang Wentian noticed Lu Chen's eyes and said with a smile, "This is my student, Wan Xiaoquan. You should have heard of him. He has just been released from prison recently." Wan Xiaoquan, Lu Chen suddenly realized. No wonder he felt familiar. It turned out to be this person. Wan Xiaoquan is also a director. He is regarded as a fifth-generation director in China. He graduated from the directing department of Beijing Film and Television Academy. He has shot many films and TV series, such as Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Legend of the White Snake, Shui Ren Gui, and so on. He enjoys a certain reputation in the industry. But what he is most famous for is his bad temper. Scolding actors, scolding producers, scolding screenwriters, scolding investors. When Wan Xiaoquan makes a movie, there are always topics. He often fights with the media, and his relationship with the media is very bad. The evaluation of him in the circle is talented and bad-tempered. At the end of 2014, Wan Xiaoquan had a fierce conflict with someone in the crew. He slapped the other party into a concussion and deafness in his left ear. As a result, he lost money and was sentenced to 1.5 years for intentional injury. This was undoubtedly a big blow to Wan Xiaoquan. His wife divorced him, the Directors Association removed him from the list, and his future was ruined. Last time Wang Bin was arrested for drug abuse. Some people on the blog jokingly said that the Prison Storm blockbuster lineup had added another general. Among them, director Wan Xiaoquan was mentioned. He was still in prison at that time. However, compared with those stars and celebrities who were arrested for drug abuse, prostitution, and drunk driving, people in the circle have a much better evaluation of Wan Xiaoquan, because his bad temper is not against people. The guy who was slapped by him really deserved a beating, but no one expected that it would cause such serious consequences. Lu Chen has seen Wan Xiaoquan's Legend of the White Snake. The director has great strength and ideas in making this kind of strange film. He is very good at the use of camera and color. He is a really talented person. Lu Chen has also seen the news about him being in prison. He didn't expect that the protagonist of the story was sitting next to him. He immediately reached out to Wan Xiaoquan and said, "Director Wan, hello, nice to meet you." Wan Xiaoquan shook hands with Lu Chen and said with a wry smile, "Don't call me Director Wan. I am now a released person. I don't think I will be able to make a film in the future." There was a trace of bitterness in his expression, but his eyes were calm. Obviously, this rough experience taught him a big life lesson and taught him a lot of things. Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Director Wan, with your talent, you don't have to worry about not having a film to shoot." He took out a business card from his bag and handed it over with both hands. "My name is Lu Chen. I have opened my own studio and am currently shooting a TV series. I hope to have the opportunity to cooperate with you." Wan Xiaoquan took the business card and said a little embarrassedly, "I don't have a business card. Can I give you my number?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "Of course you can." He is now shooting a TV series, but his further goal is to make a movie. The status of a movie is not comparable to that of a TV series. The market scale is larger and the influence is higher. Therefore, Lu Chen is not being polite with Wan Xiaoquan. Maybe there will be a chance to cooperate with the latter in the future. He wrote down Wan Xiaoquan's contact information. Zhang Wentian watched from the side with a smile on his old face. Lu Chen, this young man, is really good. There are few new generation stars like him in the circle. He is neither arrogant nor impetuous, neither servile nor overbearing. He is experienced and talented. He has all kinds of advantages. Looking at Lu Chen, director Zhang felt that he was really old. Chapter 360. On May 8th, the rankings of the China music chart for the first week of May were announced on time. Without any suspense, Chen Fei-er's new album Woman Flower took the top spot. All 10 works in the album were on the chart, including the title song Woman Flower, the second title song Come Across the Sea to See You, Hello Tomorrow, and Meet, which occupied the first to fourth places on the chart. The Coronation of the Heavenly Queen. That was the first news title published by a well-known entertainment website after the chart was refreshed. Chen Fei-er's new album not only created the highest sales of domestic records in recent years, but also received widespread praise both inside and outside the circle. Her successful transformation has undoubtedly allowed her music career to climb to a new peak. Some people on the blog asserted that with this album, Chun Fei could continue to be brilliant in the pop music world for another 10 years. That night, in the banquet hall of the famous Regent Hotel in Beijing, many media reporters surrounded Chun Fei. Among them, there were reporters who got the news and asked her about the album. Chun Fei accompanied Lu Chun to attend the opening ceremony of Full House of Romance that night. When filming Autumn in My Heart, in order to save costs, and because the project received very little attention, the crew did not hold a grand opening ceremony. This step was very simple. At that time, Autumn in My Heart was like an ugly duckling. Even with the addition of Chun Fei it did not attract much attention. Today's situation is completely different. Lu Chun and Chun Fei became the best couple on the domestic screen with Autumn in My Heart. The start of the new drama, Full House of Romance, can be said to be the focus of attention. Under such circumstances, if they didn't hold a grand opening ceremony and didn't invite all kinds of media to visit, not only would their partners not agree, but others would also have doubts in their hearts. Is there a problem? In fact, the opening ceremony of the film and TV series is also an important strategy in the early stage of publicity. In the past, domestic film and TV series did not use this method, but after entering the new century, Hong Kong artists and directors have gone north, which also brought this trend. As a result, many domestic-related practitioners would not feel at ease if they did not light candles and offer incense before filming started. If something happened during the filming process, it would inevitably be attributed to the ritual not being done well. It was better to believe it than not. Nowadays, domestic film crews were very good at this. The location of the opening ceremony was either at the film city or the filming site of a scenic spot, or in a hotel. The partners of a new drama full of romance include Lu Chun Studio, Chun Fei Studio, Beijing TV Station, Zhidong TV Station, SPG, Crown Pictures, Flying Stone Records, Chinda Brothers Pictures, Rainbow Agency, and so on. There are many filming locations, so the ceremony was held in a hotel in Beijing. The reason why they chose to start filming at night was that there was a night scene that would be filmed in the Regent Hotel. Since the ceremony was held in Beijing, it was very convenient to invite media reporters. There are more than 30 media outlets at the venue, including television stations, radio stations, websites, newspapers, magazines, etc., including the main actors, directors, and producers who participated in the performance. It could be said that the venue was packed. And of course, the two protagonists, Lu Chun and Chun Fei, received the most attention from the media. Miss Chun Fei, congratulations on all the works of your new album on the latest issue of the original music chart. A reporter, holding a microphone with the logo of EasyNet Entertainment, said impatiently, 4 of the songs occupied the top 4 places on the list. What do you think of this? Chun Fei was stunned and immediately said with a smile, I don't know yet. Thank you for telling me this news. As for my feelings, I'm certainly very happy. After all, this is a very high honor. The entertainment reporter of EasyNet then asked, It is said that the rules of the original music chart are ready to be changed. In the future, only 3 songs of the same album can be on the chart at the same time. What do you think of this? Chun Fei thought about it and replied very seriously, I very much agree with this. Very much agree. All the reporters present were stunned, and many people wondered if they had heard it wrong. How could Chun Fei agree with it very much? Because when her new album sales reached a record, such news was undoubtedly targeted. Even if it was not aimed at Chun Fei, it was aimed at Lu Chun, who was standing behind her. This is obvious. In the past year, the most popular singer-songwriter in the domestic pop music world is none other than Lu Chun. All the works he wrote and sang have been on the original music list. As soon as he made a move, he swept the list and was unparalleled. Such talent made people jealous to the extent of powerlessness. The news of the change of the rules of the original music chart inevitably made people smell a hint of suppression. For this obvious trap question, Chun Feier's answer was really unexpected. According to the experience of the reporters, it was normal for her to avoid the question or not to comment. It was even reasonable for her to express a little dissatisfaction. Chun Feier was fully qualified, but what the hell was very much agree. Was it irony? For the reporter's astonishment, Chun Feier smiled and said, "For me personally, I have received enough honors in the past 10 years, so I am very willing to give the opportunity to those musicians who work hard. At the same time, I sincerely hope that domestic original works can rise again and create more and better works for the music industry and fans. If the Chinese Music Association asks for my opinion on the change of the rules of the original music chart, then I will definitely vote in favor." The reporters finally realized that Chun Feier was not saying beautiful words. She was telling the truth. A reporter did not give up and asked, "Does Mr. Lu Chun think so too? Although he came here tonight to take the red packet, it would not be satisfying if he did not dig up some news." The reporters were most happy to see Chun Feier scold the Chinese Music Association. Unfortunately, Chun Feier was a member of the Chinese Music Association. She said with a smile, "Yes." The reporters were speechless. They didn't expect Chun Feier to be Lu Chen's spokesperson. They didn't know that when Chun Feier heard the news, she mentioned it to Lu Chun, and Lu Chun had an indifferent attitude towards the change of the chart. Even if not all his works could be on the chart, what did it matter? As long as his songs were liked by a large number of fans, that was enough. Haggling over a little fame would only lower his own status. Chun Feier didn't care even more. Perhaps some people would say that the original music chart had an impact on record sales and could improve the singer's reputation. But in fact, the media information was extremely developed, and there were many ways of marketing and publicity. The influence of the original music chart had been declining. Therefore, if the reporters wanted to make some trouble on this issue, it would be wishful thinking. Chun Feier said, "Everyone, tonight is the start of the shooting of a new drama. Let's not choose another topic, shall we?" The reporters didn't agree. Someone asked, "Miss Chun Feier, when are you going to marry Mr. Lu Chun? I think there must be a lot of fans who are concerned about this question, right?" Chun Feier didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and it was not good to avoid answering. She said, "Mr. Lu Chun and I haven't thought about this question for the time being, because the two of us are focusing on our work at the moment. For other things, it's better to ask Mr. Lu Chun himself." She kicked the ball to Lu Chun. Lu Chun was just a few steps away, surrounded by another group of reporters asking questions. There were many media reporters in the evening. Everyone wanted to interview the two protagonists, so they had to deal with them separately. The questions asked by the reporters on Lu Chen's side weren't as off-topic as those on Chun Feier's side, but that didn't mean that their questions were easy to answer. For example, this reporter from Entertainment Weekly, "Mr. Lu Chun, shown in TV, has just announced the shooting of a new drama, Sea of Love. It is said that the plot content had a lot of similarities with Autumn in My Heart. What do you think of this?" This kind of question was obviously not well-intentioned. But the nature of entertainment reporters has always been like this. If you don't guide and create topics, how can you attract the attention of readers? Therefore, how to deal with entertainment reporters was a skill that a star must master. Chapter 361. The question asked by the reporter of Entertainment Weekly to Lu Chun was certainly not malicious, nor was it fabricated out of thin air. Autumn in My Heart broke the ratings record in China and was successfully broadcast in South Korea. Its influence spread to Japan and Southeast Asian countries. Not only did it make the investors make a lot of money, but the people involved also benefited a lot. How could everyone not be envious when they saw this? People in the circle suddenly found that the original urban youth idol sadomasochistic drama also has a huge market. Therefore, after Autumn was broadcast in China, many film and television production companies immediately decided to shoot new dramas with similar themes, including shonen TV. Shonen TV is very strong in variety shows, and it is also not weak in making TV dramas. They like to remake successful Japanese and Korean dramas. Strictly speaking, the youth idol style in the domestic TV market is brought up by shonen TV. It's just that there are more TV dramas of the same type nowadays, and shonen TV's original method can no longer be used. The last time their annual drama hit Autumn in My Heart, the result was a complete failure. But shonen TV has a characteristic that is very admirable. That is, they are extremely thick-skinned and have a strong ability to imitate. They don't care about other people's criticism at all, and they quickly set their eyes on the market effect brought by Autumn in My Heart. In terms of imitation, there is really no one comparable to shonen TV. Shonen TV's new drama, Autumn in My Heart, was released under such a background. It is simply to compete with Lu Chun, because this drama is very likely to collide with Lu Chen's Full House of Romance during the summer vacation. At that time, there will be a fierce collision, and even if Autumn in My Heart can't beat Full House of Romance, it will still make a profit. Because of the topic, shonen TV's hype skills are very deep, and they're absolutely not afraid of a lawsuit. Their screenwriter is very clever. Of course, Lu Chen knows that this question is very difficult to answer. It is not good to be serious, but it is also wrong not to be serious. He thought about it and replied, "I have no opinion, because I know nothing about this matter, so I can't answer." Lu Chun is not a stupid person. How can he fall for the reporter's trap? At this time, Tai Chi was the best choice. However, the reporter obviously wouldn't let Lu Chen go just like that. He continued, "Shonen TV has invited Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang to play the leading roles. What do you think of this?" Shonen TV played very cleverly. Not only did their new TV series follow the trend of Autumn in My Heart, but they also poached two important actors from Autumn in My Heart. People couldn't help but admire their ability to ride on the limelight. Lu Chen knew about this matter. In fact, Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang originally intended to continue to cooperate with him, but after careful consideration, he gave up. First of all, it was because Full of Romance was not a sequel or a sister show to Autumn in My Heart. Using too many of the original cast members would make the audience tired of watching the show, which was not conducive to the performance of the characters. In addition, the value of the two rookies was too high. The total investment of Full of Romance reached 50 million, several times more than Autumn in My Heart, but a large part of it was the salary of Lu Chun and Shin Fei. Their salary together accounted for 1/3 of the budget. Under such circumstances, if they gave Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang a high salary, it would seriously squeeze the production cost or increase the investment budget, which was not what Lu Chun and the investors wanted. Therefore, after discussing with the partners, Lu Chun used most of the new actors in this new TV series. Therefore, he could only apologize to Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang. Of course, it was understandable that Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang would go to Shonen TV's Sea of Love. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Zhang Li Wei and Hu Yang are both very good actors. I had a good time working with them before. I wish them success again." It was simply watertight. The reporter who asked Lu Chun suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness. It was reasonable to say that a young artist like Lu Chun, who had just debuted, should be easy to provoke. However, he was so experienced, as if he had been in the industry for decades. The reporter from Entertainment Weekly did not admit defeat. He immediately said, "Then what do you think of Hu Yang's new contract with Juxing Agency? Is it because of Juxing Agency that you don't want to continue working with him?" After Hu Yang became famous overnight in Autumn in My Heart, he quickly terminated his contract with the original second-rate agency and changed his boss. He signed with Jin Hongwei's Juxing Agency, and many people in the industry knew about the grudge between Jin Hongwei and Lu Chun. However, the reporter did not know whether it was intentional or unintentional, but he had reversed the relationship. Hu Yang signing with Juxing Agency was a recent matter, and it had nothing to do with Lu Chen's refusal to join Full House of Romance. Although Lu Chen's self-restraint was very high, he was still angered by the malicious question. He did not lose his temper. Instead, he glanced at the reporter and said, "This is very irresponsible. I don't think Hu Yang will agree with it." Being glanced at by Lu Chun, the reporter for Entertainment Weekly could not help but feel nervous. Of course, he could hear the warning in Lu Chen's words, and he could not help but want to retreat. If he continued to ask like this, he would really offend someone, and it was a star artist with a promising future. Even if he succeeded for the time being, he was afraid that he would not be able to survive in this industry in the future. Because when he came, he had taken a red packet. There were rules in the industry. People who took benefits and still made things difficult for him were not welcome anywhere, unless they were completely shameless. The reporter from Entertainment Weekly was still shameless. He smiled awkwardly and said, "I don't have any questions." Luchin nodded and calmly answered other people's questions. After a reporter's interview, he really felt more tired than fighting a war. None of these reporters were easy to deal with. The questions they asked were quite tricky. If he was not careful, he could fall into the trap. So, Luchan had to be fully focused to deal with them. "Next time, I won't do this kind of opening ceremony." After it was over, Luchan said to Chen Feier half jokingly and half seriously, "It's too tiring." Chen Feier smiled and said, "It's good to get used to it." Luchan shook his head and said, "I'd rather spend more time filming and singing." His new drama, Full House of Romance, would officially start shooting tonight. After shooting the scenes in Beijing, Luchan and Chen Feier would fly to South Korea with the crew. The two of them would finish all the foreign scenes in Jeju Island, a tourist resort in South Korea. Chapter 362. Jeju Island was the largest island in South Korea, under the jurisdiction of the Jeju Special Autonomous Province. It covered an area of nearly 2,000 square kilometers and had a population of more than 1 million, mainly concentrated in Jeju City. This typical volcanic island had a warm climate and beautiful scenery. Its volcanic landforms and lava caves were designated as World Natural Heritage by UNESCO and one of the 7 new wonders of nature in the world. Jeju Island not only had a unique island scenery, but also inherited the unique folk culture of the ancient kingdom of Jara. It was known as the Hawaii of South Korea. The island's tourism and aquaculture industry played an important role in South Korea. In addition, it was also the filming site of many South Korean movies, TV series, and reality shows. It was also one of the main destinations for domestic tourists to South Korea. Most of the Korean plot of Full House of Romance would be filmed in Jeju Island, with a small part in Seoul. Compared with the original work in the dream world, Luchin's new script had enriched the plot, expanded the length of the characters, and big foreign scenes. Filming abroad was actually a very troublesome thing because it involved local laws and regulations. It was not as simple as carrying a camera and finding a place to start filming immediately. It required coordination from all aspects. Fortunately, the crew had received strong assistance from the South Korean SPG, so the filming process was quite smooth. Except for a lot of small problems in the first 2 days after arriving at Jeju Island, there are not many twists and turns. This new TV series would no longer be filmed and broadcast at the same time. After all the filming was completed, it would be broadcast in China and South Korea at the same time. Luchan estimated that the filming and production period would be about 2.5 months. In this way, it could be broadcast during the summer vacation and compete for the ratings of young people. For a TV series with 25 episodes, the production period was not very short, but considering that there were a lot of foreign shooting content, the task was still very tight. "Cut!" Fang Hui shouted, stood up from the director's chair, and quickly walked in front of Luchan and Chen Feier. She frowned and said, "Feier, your body movements are too stiff. It's right to be shy, but you can't be too nervous. Be natural. Try to be as natural as possible." Chen Feier blushed and said, "I got it, director. I'll try again." Fang Hui smiled and said, "Don't be nervous, just like you usually do." Luchan did a good job. Luchan chuckled, causing Chen Feier to roll his eyes. The two of them were currently filming at a famous scenic spot in Jeju Island, Ocean View Terrace. They were filming a very romantic kissing scene. This was also Chen Feier and Luchan's first kiss in a TV series. In the last movie, Autumn in My Heart, until the death of the heroine, the intimacy between the two was limited to holding hands. After it was broadcasted, it was called by the audience as the purest love drama in history. Blue was a sadomasochistic drama, while Full of Romance was a heartwarming comedy, so there were more intimate scenes. Although Chan Fei-er and Lu Chun had been living together for a long time and had a very close relationship, Chun Fei-er still felt nervous when it was his first kiss scene. He had already failed 3 times in a row. As for the reason for the tension, it was mainly because there were a lot of tourists at the sea view platform, and the area of clearance was very limited. Although there were many staff at the scene to maintain order, it still formed a crowd. Being stared at by so many people for a kiss scene in front of so many people, it was inevitable that Chun Fei-er would be a little nervous. She really lacked experience. Fang Hui had high requirements for details. If she felt that it was not good enough, she would ask for a retake. She would not compromise at all. On this point, Lu Chun was very supportive of Fang Hui. He said to Chun Fei-er, "Close your eyes and open them again. Don't look at others, just look at me." If in terms of singing, Lu Chun and Chun Fei-er's abilities were on par, then in terms of acting, Lu Chun, who had M.O. Rant's memory, could completely be Chun Fei-er's mentor. Before filming Autumn in My Heart, Chun Fei-er had guest roles in several blockbusters, purely for fun. When filming Autumn in My Heart, the scenes between the two were basically filmed by Lu Chun. Therefore, Chun Fei-er trusted Lu Chun very much. She obediently closed her eyes, and after a while, she opened them again. Only Lu Chun's figure was left in her eyes. All units, attention. Ready the camera. Action. Lu Chun's gaze at Chun Fei-er instantly became affectionate. He reached out his hand and placed it on Chun Fei-er's pretty face, and the tip of his thumb gently stroked the corner of the latter's lips. The male lead played by Lu Chun was a big star. He was kind-hearted but stubborn. When he realized his love for the female lead, he naturally showed his strong side. Under his slightly aggressive gaze, Chun Fei-er was like a rabbit being stared at by an eagle. She shyly didn't dare to look at him and instinctively wanted to turn her head to avoid his gaze. However, Lu Chun didn't give her the chance to escape at all. He resolutely lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. Faced with such an attack, Chun Fei-er suddenly opened her eyes wide, as if she couldn't believe what had just happened. However, under Lu Chun's domineering invasion, she gave up resistance and closed her eyes. Her hands tightly hugged Lu Chun's waist, and she awkwardly catered to the latter. The two of them kissed passionately. The background was the boundless blue sea, and seagulls flew across the sky, forming a beautiful picture. Cut. Fang Hui suddenly clapped her hands and said with a smile, "Very good. We passed." She was really very satisfied with the set of scenes that had just been shot. Although Chun Fei-er was not a professional actress, and she had never studied acting before, the speed of her improvement in acting was very obvious. Most importantly, Chun Fei-er had a very high understanding of acting. With the guidance of Fang Hui or Lu Chun, she could easily master the tricks of acting and quickly correct her shortcomings. Tien, that's right. According to the saying in the circle, she was born to make a living in this bowl of rice. But Fang Hui admired Lu Chun the most. If in terms of acting, Chun Fei-er was always learning and improving, then Lu Chun's performance was like that of a veteran actor who had been filming for decades. His subtle expressions and movements were impeccable. He interpreted the role with both body and spirit, and he rarely mispronounced the lines. Shooting Lu Chun's scenes was the easiest. The number of NGs was very few. It saved time, effort, and money. No director would dislike such an actor. Of course, Fang Hui was no exception. However, what she couldn't figure out was that Lu Chun did not study acting, and the time of his debut was not comparable to that of Chun Fei-er at all. So where did he learn such excellent acting skills? Fang Hui really couldn't figure it out. She could only classify Lu Chun as a monster. Even if it was a monster, there was no one like him. In just a year after his debut, he made a record, opened a studio, wrote a script, and filmed a TV series, and he was a big success in everything. Perhaps some people were born to be looked up to by others. Fang Hui sighed in her heart, clapped her hands, and said, "Let's take a break for 10 minutes and get ready for the next scene." The crew on the scene was like a tight string that had been loosened, but the staff of the crew, the photography team, the recording team, and so on still had to continue to prepare for the next scene. Lu Chen reluctantly let go of Chen Feier. The two looked at each other and smiled. They both saw the sweetness in each other's eyes. Even if they were filming, the two of them just now were acting for real. It felt wonderful and very good. Lu Chen, Lu Chen. At this time, there was a burst of shouting not far away. It turned out that several young female tourists were shouting Lu Chen's name outside the safety circle. If it weren't for the staff on the scene stopping them, they would have rushed over enthusiastically. Chen Feier pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Go and entertain your female fans. I'll go and touch up my makeup first." After that, she left. Lu Chen shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He had to walk towards the fans. There were many domestic tourists traveling in Jeju Island, among which there were many fans of Lu Chen and Chen Feier. Many tourists saw the two filming and inevitably gathered to take photos and then asked for autographs and photos. If the conditions allowed, Lu Chen would usually satisfy these fans' requests. Interestingly, he also had Korean fans here, and they were basically young Korean girls. As soon as Lu Chen went to deal with the fans, the cruise floor manager told his assistant, "Go over there and get a few bottles of water from the car. Remember to be quick." The little assistant answered and quickly ran to the parking lot. Chapter 363. Along the long ramp, Jiang Fong ran down to the parking lot like a sprinting deer. Jiang Fong had just graduated from college last year. She studied at a third-rate college in Beijing. After graduation, she wanted to stay in Beijing, but she couldn't find a suitable job. Later, her uncle helped her get into a film company. Jiang Fong was now a small assistant on the set of Full House of Romance. The so-called stage supervisor, also known as crew service, was the person in charge of daily affairs during the filming process of a TV series. Their main job was to assist the program assistant in maintaining the on-site environment, cooperate with the on-site control of personnel and support of the site, and take care of clothing, food, housing, transportation, and other aspects under the direct leadership of the production director. In other words, a stage supervisor was equivalent to the management of the crew. A crew usually had multiple stage supervisors. Their authority wasn't high, but their role wasn't small. They were indispensable to the crew. As for the stage supervisor assistant, to put bluntly, they helped the stage supervisor do odd jobs. But Jiang Fong was very satisfied with this odd job, because many people wanted to get into the film and television crew, but couldn't. If she didn't have an uncle who was in the industry, she would probably be washing dishes like many other students, struggling to make a living. At least she could still have a dream, right? And when she told others that she was on the set of Full House of Romance, people's eyes turned red with envy. They could see a big star every day. It was precisely because she deeply understood the preciousness of opportunities that Jiang Fong usually worked hard in her work. Although she was thin and small, she was not much worse than her male colleagues in the crew when she worked. Moreover, she had the advantage of being a girl. In addition, her mouth was very sweet. She could even say a few words to Lu Chen and Chen Feier. Jiang Fong's dream wasn't big. She hoped that one day she could become a real stage supervisor. That way, her income would be much higher, and she would have the opportunity to go further. She ran to the parking lot and asked for a small box of mineral water from the cruise driver. Then she carried it back to the ramp that led to the ocean view platform. Along the stairs, Jiang Fong sped up. In front of her was a group of people who didn't look like tourists. There was a cameraman carrying a camera bag, an assistant carrying a light pad, and 6 or 7 men in black suits and white shirts. These serious-looking men in suits were accompanying a tall and slender young man wearing a pair of big sunglasses. They occupied most of the space on the ramp. Jiang Fong didn't notice these details. She caught up from behind, and when she saw someone blocking the way, she ran along the edge of the drain. She ran a little too fast. As a result, just as she rushed to the small square below the sea view platform, she staggered and lost her balance. She leaned to the left and almost collided with the slender young man who had also just come up. Whoa, 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 whoa. The expression of a man in a suit next to the young man suddenly changed. While shouting, he stepped forward to block Jiang Fong and stretched out his hands to push the latter hard. Jiang Fong wasn't prepared at all. She was thin and small, and the other party's strength was very strong. She was immediately pushed away and fell heavily a few steps away, her head hitting the stone wall. The impact wasn't particularly serious. At least, Jiang Fong didn't faint on the spot. However, the area of impact was lacerated and dark red blood immediately flowed out. Under the intense pain, she couldn't help but scream. The man in the suit who pushed her clearly didn't expect such an outcome. He was obviously stunned. The slender young man stopped in his tracks, a little hesitant. The man in the suit who was with him said something and then walked toward Jiang Fong, who had fallen to the ground. "What are you guys doing? Jiang Fong has been beaten up. Go down and take a look." Jiang Fong's scream from being pushed was heard by the crew members who were still on the sea view platform. A few colleagues looked down out of curiosity and happened to see the scene of Jiang Fong's head bleeding. These crew members instantly exploded. Most of them were hot-blooded young people who got along well with Jiang Fong. Now that they saw her being bullied, how could they remain indifferent? Therefore, a few crew members immediately rushed down. Seeing such a scene, the man in the suit who had just walked toward Jiang Fong immediately retreated and protected the slender young man with his companions. His face revealed a vigilant expression. A few colleagues quickly ran to the scene of the incident. One of them helped Jiang Fong up, while the other two angrily demanded justice. More crew members rushed over when they heard the news. The atmosphere immediately became tense. 4 or 5 men in suits stood in front of the slender young man and extended their hands to stop the crew members who wanted to demand an explanation. They covered the latter as he tried to retreat. "Japanese. It's the mother of Asterisk King Japanese that beat up Xiaofang. Call the police. We can't let them escape." Knowing that the other party was Japanese, the crew members became even more furious and resolutely stopped them from leaving. And these men in suits weren't to be trifled with. Seeing that they were surrounded, they immediately took action. "Aya, beat them up. Beat these bastards to death." In the blink of an eye, both sides fell into a chaotic battle. The nearby tourists quickly retreated to avoid being caught in the crossfire. There were also many onlookers who raised their phones and cameras to take pictures. The number of people on both sides was about the same, but the men in suits clearly had the upper hand. They were well-trained and their attacks were fast and ruthless. In less than half a minute, they had defeated several crew members. The young people in the crew were hot-blooded, but their combat power was obviously lacking. They didn't have any technique when fighting, so they were at a disadvantage. However, as the saying goes, a random punch could kill an experienced master. One of the men in suits was careless and got punched in the face. The corner of his eye turned black on the spot. Feeling the pain, he couldn't help but fly into a rage. He suddenly turned to the side and gave a roundhouse kick, landing heavily on the chest and abdomen of one of the crew members, sending the latter flying. After succeeding in one move, the man in suit's hostility didn't decrease. He kicked the crew member closest to him and raised his leg, aiming for his head. With the strength of his sidekick, if the kick connected, the consequences would undoubtedly be very serious. The crew member noticed the danger, but it was too late for him to dodge. His body's awareness wasn't strong enough. Bang! At this critical moment, a figure suddenly appeared and inserted himself in between the two sides. He raised his arm and blocked the man in suit's sidekick. The crew member who escaped death cried out in surprise. Lu Chun. The person who saved him was Lu Chun. Chapter 364. After filming the kissing scene on the ocean viewing platform, Lu Chun and Chen Fei still had to go to the 1,000-meter white beach to film their last scene in Jeju Island. After that, they would go to Seoul to film another scene. After that, their trip to Korea would come to an end. Jiang Fong's head was bleeding for being pushed down by someone. Lu Chun heard her scream immediately. However, when Lu Chun realized that something was wrong and rushed down, the crew members were being beaten up by the other party. A few of them were already lying on the ground, battered and exhausted. Seeing such a scene, Lu Chen did not hesitate. He immediately rushed over as fast as he could and saved a crew member who was in danger just in time. The other party's sidekick from the man in the suit was blocked by Lu Chen's arm. A trace of surprise could not help but show on his face. However, he clearly did not intend to let the matter rest. He immediately twisted his body and his right leg flew up again. This time, the man in the suit did not hold back. He did not believe that Lu Chen could block his first kick again. However, Lu Chen's counterattack came even faster. Just as the man in the suit raised his leg, Lu Chen suddenly took a step forward. He raised both his arms and pushed them forward. With lightning speed, he slapped the man in the suit's body. This cloud-expelling style used all the strength in the arms, chest, and waist. It looked ordinary, but the strength of the two palms was very strong. With a bang sound, the man in the suit was sent flying a few steps away. He fell to the ground with all four legs facing the sky and cried out in pain. Actually, Lu Chen had held back. If he had changed his palm to a single punch, it would not have been a problem for him to break one of the man's ribs. However, if he had done that, the matter would have been blown out of proportion. Even so, Lu Chen did not let the man in the suit have an easy time. After the man in the suit fell to the ground, he could not get up. However, Lu Chen did not stop there. He continued to rush forward. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed the collar of the other man in the suit. He suddenly exerted force and flung him backward. Go to hell. A man in a suit noticed Lu Chen's movements and roared in shock and anger. He immediately abandoned his opponent and opened his arms to pounce on Lu Chen. What he used was a freestyle fighting style. He used his own strength, weight, and speed to pounce on his opponent. Once he pounced on his opponent, he would immediately use his arms to twist his opponent's neck. It was extremely fierce and fierce. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to dodge at such a close distance. Unfortunately, his opponent was Lu Chen. Facing the attack from his opponent, Lu Chen calmly turned sideways and grabbed the right arm of the man in the suit. Using the strength of the man in the suit, he deflected the direction of the man in the suit. Then, he took advantage of the situation and sent the man out. The man in the suit was so dizzy that he completely lost control of his body. He staggered and involuntarily bumped into his companion. As a result, the two of them rolled on the ground at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen consecutively dealt with 4 men in suits. He resolved the crisis faced by the crew and reversed the situation of the battle in one fell swoop. In front of him, there was only a slender young man who was guarded by 2 men in suits. The 2 bodyguards obviously didn't expect Lu Chen to be so fierce. Seeing Lu Chen approaching, they showed a trace of panic on their faces. However, because it was their duty, the 2 bodyguards didn't retreat. They rushed toward Lu Chen together. Lu Chen had long been prepared. He calmly shifted his position, and his right leg swept out, hitting the left calf of one of the bodyguards, causing the latter to instantly lose his balance and fall forward. Another bodyguard hurriedly turned around, but Lu Chen bumped into him sideways at this time, hit him hard in the chest with his shoulder, and immediately sent him flying. A perfect KO. This time, Lu Chen was directly facing the slender man with sunglasses. If he didn't guess wrong, the other party should be a key figure in this group of Japanese. He was most likely a celebrity like him. The reason was simple. In addition to the bodyguards that he had taken down, the other party also had many photographers and assistants. They must have come to the Sea View platform to take photos. Those people wanted to stop Lu Chen, but the crew members on Lu Chen's side were not fools. They blocked them all. Among them, those who had suffered a loss just now kicked the man in the suit who fell to the ground a few times with hatred. Lu Chen's side completely has the upper hand. The slender young man was probably afraid that Lu Chen would beat him up. Seeing Lu Chen continue to approach, he said something and retreated in panic. However, he didn't expect there to be stairs behind him. As a result, he missed a step and almost fell down. His hands flailed wildly and luckily grabbed the branches of a plant beside him. In the end, he sat on the edge of the drainage ditch beside the stairs. The slender young man was in an extremely sorry state. Even the sunglasses he was wearing had fallen off, revealing a pair of delicate eyes. Sissy, Lu Chan smirked disdainfully. The other party was very thin, his skin was very white, and his chin was sharp. He obviously had makeup and eyeliner on his face. He had an earring in his left ear, giving off a very feminine and demonic feeling. This so-called new generation of idols was very popular in the Japanese entertainment industry. Perhaps he felt that Lu Chan was looking down on him, or perhaps he had suffered too much humiliation. The slender young man's face turned red, and his thin lips pursed in anger. "Stop hitting him! Stop hitting him!" At this moment, the Korean translator who had been following the crew ran over and shouted, "I've already called the police! I've called the police!" This Korean translator had been sent by SPG to assist the crew. Now that the situation was under control, Lu Chen didn't want to continue making things worse. In fact, he had already noticed that there were many tourists nearby who were watching and taking photos. So he waved his hand and said, "Everyone stop fighting." Not only was Lu Chen the male lead of Full House of Romance, but he was also the main investor. He had more authority in the crew than the director, so his words naturally carried more weight. Most importantly, it was because of Lu Chen's attack just now that he had defeated the other party's main force in one fell swoop and displayed his powerful combat power. Naturally, his prestige among the young people in the crew had increased exponentially. Therefore, after hearing his words, everyone stopped fighting with the other party and retreated. Everyone gathered together again and maintained their vigilance, ready to attack again at any time. The Japanese yelled and rushed over, lifting the slender young man who was sitting on the ground. The latter fiercely shook off their hands and shouted at them. The men in suits who had been knocked down by Lu Chen got up. A few of them could not even raise their heads after being scolded by the slender young man. They also looked at Lu Chen with resentment. However, they did not dare to attack again. Lu Chen's combat power had left a deep impression on them. If they attacked again, they would only be humiliating themselves. The crew members who had won the battle cheered. Someone shouted, "Brother Chun is mighty! Lu Chen, are you okay?" More people came down from the sea view platform, including Chun Fei. "I'm fine." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Let's see if Xiaofeng is okay. Should we call an ambulance?" Jiang Fong had already been helped up by her colleagues. She looked quite miserable. Not only was her head bleeding, but there were also abrasions on her hands and feet. However, she was still conscious. Fortunately, her brain was not injured. A female colleague took out a handkerchief to help press on her wound to stop the bleeding. Chun Fei quickly went over to express his condolences. The crew members were filled with righteous indignation and scolded the culprit again. The South Korean police arrived quickly. The Sea View platform was a famous tourist attraction in Jeju Island. There were usually many tourists. To ensure safety, the South Koreans had deployed a lot of police to maintain law and order. Therefore, after receiving the call, patrolling police arrived at the scene very quickly. The alarm was very loud. The crew's translator and the people from SPG stood up to negotiate with the police. The other party also had a translator involved. After a few minutes of negotiation, the crew's translator and a South Korean police officer came to Lu Chen. The translator said apologetically, "Mr. Lu, this is Officer Park Ji-sung Park. Because you were involved in this battle, he needs you to go to the police station to make a statement. We're very sorry." After saying that, he bowed deeply to Lu Chen. The person from SPG came over with a phone and said, "Mr. Lu, I've already informed the company. The company will send a lawyer over as soon as possible. Don't worry." SPG had a direct interest in Lu Chen's new drama, Full House of Romance. Therefore, the crew had received their strong support when they were filming in South Korea. Now that something like this had happened, of course, SPG would not just stand by and watch. Although this was Jeju Island, with SPG's strength and resources, it would definitely not be a problem to protect Lu Chen. Most importantly, the cause of this incident was not Lu Chen's side. It was the Japanese who started it. Lu Chen had expected this. Since he had chosen to make a move, he had to accept the consequences. Of course, he would not regret it. If he did it again, he might be even more ruthless. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Sure." Chun Fei-er, who was standing at the side, suddenly became anxious. "I'll go with you." Lu Chen smiled and said, "What are you going to the police station for?" "I'm just going to make a statement. The crew needs people too." Chun Fei-er insisted, "No, I'm worried." Her attitude was so firm that Lu Chen had no choice but to agree. "Then you go with the translator." Other than Lu Chen, all the other crew members who were involved in the battle had to go with him. They were in a foreign country, and everyone was worried that their colleagues would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, many people wanted to go with them. It was the producer and director Fong Hui who stopped them. Although they could not continue filming here, the crew could not be left alone. Moreover, it would not be good if too many people went. As for the Japanese, the participants were also brought to the nearest police station. Just as Lu Chen arrived at the police station to make a statement, the domestic online media exploded. Chapter 365. Wanhai Terrace was one of the must-see attractions for tourists visiting Jeju Island, so there were a lot of tourists there. Therefore, the scene of Lu Chen going to the police station with the Korean police to make a statement was not only seen by many tourists, but it was also photographed at the same time, including a few tourists from China. One of the tourists posted the photo on her blog. This tourist with the ID Annie Love on Waves knew Lu Chen. When she took the photo, she happened to be in the parking lot below Wanhai Terrace, and the photo she captured was of Lu Chen getting into the police car. Annie Love was not a fan of Lu Chen, so she did not have the awareness of keeping a secret for her idol. Instead, she was excited to get hold of big news, and she could not wait to post a blog post on her phone. Although she did not know the ins and outs of the matter, it did not stop her from giving her blog post a very eye-catching title. There are pictures and the truth. Lu Chen was taken away by the Korean police at Wanhai Terrace in Jeju Island. Annie Love did not have many fans, only a few hundred. However, Lu Chen had always been a hot celebrity on Waves' blog, and with the recent filming of the new drama Full House of Romance, there were many netizens who searched for his latest news on the blog. This blog post was quickly found by others and then reposted. If it was 20 or 30 years ago, when there was no internet, ordinary people would not be able to know about a celebrity being taken away by the police, and as the main media, television, radio, and newspapers might not report it. However, in such an era of the internet, the transmission of news was too fast and convenient. Unless the government controlled public opinion, the slightest movement from thousands of miles away could appear on the internet in the shortest time possible. In just half an hour, Annie Love's blog post was reposted thousands of times, and the speed at which it spread on the blog was extremely fast. Many people could not believe it when they first saw the news. Why would the perfectly fine Lu Chen be taken away by the Korean police? Was there a mistake or a misunderstanding? There were also people who scoffed. Hype, 100% hype. Wasn't Lu Chen filming in Korea? They must have deliberately found someone to use the stills to hype up the topic. This kind of hype was very common in the film and television industry, and anyone with a bit of intelligence would not fall for it. Lu Chen's fans were also skeptical. First, they didn't believe it, and then they agreed with the speculation of the publicity. However, the situation developed very quickly. Another piece of news was revealed on the blog. It was true that Lu Chen had been taken away by the Korean police, not for filming, but because he was involved in a fight with someone. This time, it wasn't an ordinary blogger like Annie Love who broke the news, but a famous vlogger with more than 1 million fans. He even included a few photos. These photos weren't very clear, but they could clearly see Lu Chen in the midst of the chaotic battle. It was clearly not a scene from a movie, so the authenticity of the photos was very high. The public was in an uproar. Lu Chen was arrested for brawling in Korea. This was a disgrace that would spread overseas. Nowadays, the domestic entertainment industry had always been full of scandals. Among the celebrities, there were drug addicts, prostitutes, cheating, drunk driving, and so on. In the eyes of the public, their overall image was not good. And as a rising star of a new generation, Lu Chen's image had always been very good since his debut. Many fans praised him as the positive energy of the entertainment industry, and he was even recognized by the official media. Who would have thought that he would cause a scandal abroad? Many online media outlets have reposted this new blog post and titled it with different titles. Suspected of brawling, new star Lu Chun has just been arrested by the police in Korea. Lu Chun was taken away by the Korean police. Why are there so many scandals among entertainment stars? Latest news, Lu Chun was arrested in Jeju Island, Korea, in connection with a brawl. What's wrong with Lu Chun? There were also many so-called people in the industry who took the opportunity to jump out. Some expressed shock, some expressed condemnation, and some felt sorry. There was no lack of speculation and embellishment. Even entertainment aspects, who had been severely slapped in the face last time, jumped out and expressed their schadenfreude in a cynical manner. The entertainment industry was a big circle. As the saying goes, when the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. It was very common for people to be in the red and white. It was normal to hit someone when he was down. The key was that Lu Chun had been in the limelight recently and had unknowingly offended a lot of people. It was fine if nothing happened to Lu Chun, but once something happened, there would naturally be people jumping out to belittle him. For a time, the blog was full of demons. Many ordinary netizens who did not know the truth expressed their disgust and disgust in the comments. They thought that Lu Chun had not only embarrassed himself, but he had also embarrassed the country. There were even people who shouted the slogan, "Lu Chun, get out of the entertainment industry." Things like this suddenly caused an uproar among the fans. Many fans expressed their disappointment in Lu Chun, but most of the fans did not believe the so-called truth and wanted to wait for the follow-up news. There were also a few fans who defended Lu Chun regardless of the consequences, believing that there must be a reason for it. Countless fans ran to Lu Chun and Lu Chun Studio, and even Chun Fei-er's blog to ask for the truth. There were already media outlets who directly called for interviews, wanting to get conclusive information. However, first of all, the two studios did not know the truth of the matter, and they had no time to pay attention to the media's inquiries. It was impossible for them to immediately announce the news. This inevitably intensified the speculation on the internet, and all kinds of strange rumors were flying everywhere. It also involved Chun Fei. Some people said that Lu Chun was angry because of Chun Fei. In a very short period of time, Lu Chun was arrested in Korea, quickly became a hot search term on the blog. It was on the top search list on the home page, causing even greater influence. In short, during the time when Lu Chun made a statement in the Jeju Island police station, the domestic public opinion was in an uproar. There were even people who called the consulate in Korea to inquire. However, at that time, there were more than 1 or 2 domestic tourists at Jeju Island's Wanghaitai, and there were also more than 1 or 2 people who witnessed the incident. Someone posted on the blog that Lu Chun beat up the Japanese, and that it was the Japanese who started it. He also posted a short video that he took at the scene. In the video, the men in suits who were knocked down by Lu Chun were shouting in Japanese, "Lu Chun beat up the Japanese." When this latest news came out, the public opinion on the internet suddenly changed strangely. The direction of the wind was reversed in an instant, as if a huge tornado had swept in a lot of other things. Countless netizens, including but not limited to Lu Chun's fans, were shouting, "Well done, well done." Even if the truth of the matter had not been fully revealed, they would unconditionally support Lu Chun. Chapter 366. The domestic entertainment industry had developed tremendously in the past 20 years. The market was getting bigger and bigger. At the same time, it had also driven the influence of stars and artists among the public to increase. Especially with the rise of the internet, the speed of information transmission was far faster than before. Blogs, forums, tieba, and other online spaces have become information gathering points, allowing ordinary people to understand all kinds of things happening in the entertainment industry. Many stars and entertainment agencies use the internet to promote and hype. Similarly, many people used this important entertainment position to attack and discredit their opponents. Lu Chun's encounter in Jeju Island South Korea could cause such a big impact in such a short time. There was no doubt that someone was behind it. Nowadays, the entertainment industry could be said to be a mixture of good and bad people. The industry competition was extremely fierce. Actors and singers could become famous overnight, but they could also disappear quickly. Many artists lost themselves after becoming famous. They took drugs, cheated, drove drunk, got into fights. It caused a bad impact on the public. And the relevant departments of the country also had targeted punishment for stars and artists who violated the law. That was an industry ban. For an artist, the consequences of being banned in the industry were extremely serious. Once they encountered such a punishment, they would not be able to make movies or TV shows, hold concerts, or receive advertisements, endorsements, or notices. Although it could not be said that their path to stardom was completely destroyed, it was really difficult to rise again, especially for the new generation of stars and idols. Even if the ban was only for a year and a half, it would be a devastating blow to their popularity because there were plenty of substitutes in the industry waiting to take over. It was precisely because of this that it was very common to hype up public opinion against competitors on the internet. Originally, it was not a big matter, but after repeated hype or even malicious rumors and smears, it often made the public develop a serious sense of disgust. For example, when Liu Chan was taken away by the South Korean police, under the circumstances that the truth was not clear, a dense number of offensive comments quickly appeared on the internet. The intention was self-evident. First of all, Liu Chen's crime could not be hidden. Once the waves of public opinion were set off, the difficulty and cost of covering up public relations would increase a big. In the end, if Liu Chan was really banned from the industry, it was estimated that many people would laugh crookedly. Liu Chan had only been in the industry for a year, but the speed at which he rose was astonishing. Although he paid attention to sharing benefits in many aspects and had a certain amount of connections in the industry, he had also provoked many opponents at the same time. No star artist can please everyone, especially an independent studio like him. While enjoying freedom, he will inevitably face more pressure. Once he was banned, the new drama that was being filmed was bound to face the danger of premature termination. Even if the male lead was replaced at the last minute, it would not be able to erase the serious negative impact. How could the competitors of the new drama, which was also going to be aired during the summer, not be happy? They definitely wouldn't mind giving him a push in the dark. Therefore, even when the new news came out and changed the direction of public opinion, there were still people who spared no effort to criticize Liu Chan, wishing that they could trample him into a pit. On the Waves blog, there was an internet celebrity named Everything is 3. He had posted 3 blog posts in a row, severely criticizing Liu Chen's behavior, arguing that the relevant authorities should ban Liu Chen. The entertainment industry is imperative. There should be stricter punishment for banned artists. Society needs positive energy, and as a public figure, celebrities should be an example, not the other way around. The tolerance and partiality of fans is precisely the root cause of celebrities repeatedly breaking the law. Beating people is beating people. Whether the Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, it's an unforgivable bad behavior, especially when the incident happened abroad. It's a disgrace to the Chinese people. I suggest, in the blog post, Everything is 3 had become the embodiment of justice and the law. He couldn't wait to put a big hat on Liu Chan, and his words were stern and aggressive. This internet celebrity had more than 8 million fans on the Waves blog. His blog posts were mainly comments on current affairs, and he was a self-styled social critic. He often posted some chicken soup articles, and he had a lot of fans on the internet. His blog post received the support and approval of many people and was reposted in large numbers. The reposted included a large number of internet celebrities, so it formed a lot of momentum. However, many netizens and Liu Chen's fans were very disgusted with his remarks, especially after it was revealed that Liu Chen had beaten up a Japanese. More and more people went to the Everything is 3 comment section to fight back for Liu Chen. There were also countless netizens on Liu Chen's blog to support him. Most of these netizens were originally not Liu Chen's fans, but they were now Lu Chen's fans. As a result, two factions appeared on the internet, supporting Lu Chen and opposing Lu Chen. They started a fierce debate and quarrel on blogs, forums, and Tieba, causing a lot of noise. While the domestic public opinion was in an uproar, Lu Chen was still being questioned by the Korean police in the police station of the Wonghaitai tourist area in Jeju Island, South Korea. Due to the large number of people involved in the fight and the fact that it involved people from two different countries, the Korean police were very cautious in handling the incident. The lawyer hired by SPG also rushed to the police station and accompanied Lu Chen to answer the police's questions. Lu Chen had a clear conscience in his heart and told the whole thing from beginning to end. Because of the lawyer's involvement, it took a long time. Interestingly, when Lu Chen told the police officer in charge of the questioning that he had single-handedly taken care of 6 bodyguards, the Korean police officer's expression was quite interesting. "You really know how to brag." Obviously, he did not believe it and asked many times. Actually, Lu Chen was able to single-handedly take down 6 well-trained bodyguards not because he was a Superman who wore his underwear on the outside, but because he had used a trick using speed, strength, and skill to take them down one by one. If he had to face 6 such opponents at the same time, Lu Chen could only run away. After the interrogation, the matter was not over yet. Under the auspices of the Korean police, both parties sat down at the police station and had a face-to-face mediation. The Japanese also had an interpreter, and they actually invited a lawyer to the scene. Although there were many people involved in the group fight at the Ocean View platform, the consequences were not serious. The one who was most injured was Jiang Fong. Her forehead was bruised, but it was only a superficial injury. As for the others, there were quite a few who were beaten black and blue, with only minor injuries at most. Therefore, in such a situation, the Korean police wanted to keep the peace and hope that both sides could reach a mutual understanding. Otherwise, if the matter blew up, it would be troublesome for them. However, Lu Chen could not agree to the terms proposed by the Japanese. The Japanese did not admit that they had attacked first, but that Lu Chen's side had provoked them maliciously. Jiang Fong's injury was a complete accident. She had first collided with the bodyguard's target, which was why she had been stopped. The Japanese demanded that Lu Chen's side must apologize and take the main responsibility for this incident. This kind of reversal of right and wrong made even Lu Chen angry. "I will never agree to such shameless conditions. I repeat, the responsibility is not on our side," he retorted without hesitation. "I demand that you apologize and compensate the victims for all their losses. Otherwise, I will see you in court." At this point, Lu Chen was not afraid of a lawsuit. He would rather bring a lot of trouble and even losses to seek justice. Otherwise, he would not be able to live with himself. The interpreter repeated Lu Chen's response. When the Japanese heard it, they all shouted. One of them even jumped up and shouted at Lu Chen. His expression was ferocious, as if Lu Chen had killed his father. The interpreter told Lu Chen, "He said he wants to duel with you." Lu Chen recognized that the other party was one of the bodyguards in the suit who had been knocked down by him. He smiled disdainfully and said, "Duel with me? Can he afford my appearance fee?" Lu Chen's current market value for commercial performance had risen to 500,000 to 700,000 yuan, and the endorsement cost about 5 million yuan. As for the appearance fee for a duel, there was really no way to say it. It would at least be 10 times more, right? That Japanese bodyguard was probably a small boss. He actually took it seriously. "How much do you want?" He even looked at Lu Chen with disdain. Then, before Lu Chen could answer himself, someone from SPG answered on his behalf. "If you want Mr. Lu Chen to duel with you, ask your company to prepare 100 million yen. 100 million yen. The other party's face instantly turned red. He did not believe the words of the SPG representative at all and thought it was an insult. The person from SPG sneered and said, "Mr. Lu Chen is a famous artist in China. The TV series he created and starred in not only set a record in the viewership ratings in China, but also achieved great success in Korea. He can't even afford 100 million yen. Why do you have to ask him to fight?" The people of China did not like the Japanese, and the Koreans did not like them either. Therefore, with such an opportunity, the representative from SPG did not mind mocking the other party and letting them know how ridiculous they were. 100 million yen was equivalent to 5 million yuan. It was really not much to ask Lu Chun to officially duel with someone. The Japanese had never imagined that Lu Chun was actually a celebrity. They wanted to refute, but had nothing to say. Their arrogance was immediately suppressed. Right at this moment, a Korean police officer came into the conference room with a laptop. He whispered a few words to his superior who was in charge of mediation, then turned on the laptop for him to see. The Korean police officer watched for a full 4 to 5 minutes. Then, he pushed the laptop in front of the Japanese's lawyer and played a video to him. After watching the video, the Japanese were stunned. Chapter 367. As a famous tourist attraction in Jeju Island, there were many tourists at the Ocean View Terrace. Therefore, when the conflict happened, many of the onlookers used their phones or cameras to record the scene. When Lu Chun and the others went to the police station for investigation, the Korean police also collected evidence at the scene according to procedure. Among them, a Korean tourist provided a long video. At that time, the female tourist was in the small square below the sea view platform. She was the first to see the group of Japanese people coming up the stairs. She felt that the slender young man wearing sunglasses looked like a celebrity, so she turned on the camera mode of her mobile phone and secretly took pictures. As a result, he managed to record the entire incident. In the video that was more than 10 minutes long, from Jiang Fong being pushed up to the scene, to the conflict between the crew members and the bodyguards, to Lu Chun turning the situation around and taking control of the situation, to the end when the police appeared and took the person in question away, not a single detail was left out. The rarest thing was that the female tourist was probably very experienced in filming videos. In addition, the phone was a high-end product. Not only was the video stable and clear, it actually felt like a movie. But that was not important. What was important was that the video strongly proved Lu Chun's testimony. It also gave the Japanese a loud slap in the face. It was obvious who was lying. In fact, there were many videos and photos taken by the tourists at the scene, but this video was the most powerful. As the saying goes, irrefutable evidence. Now that the Korean police had revealed it after the investigation, even the Japanese's lawyer was speechless. Not only the Japanese have seen it, but also Lu Chun's people have seen it. The crew members at the scene immediately went into an uproar. What else do they have to say now? Are they stupid? Do they really think they can lie so easily? The evidence is here. Pay up. Apologize. This is too much. We can't let them off so easily. Faced with the agitated Chinese people, the Japanese had nothing to say. The most arrogant guy just now also shut his mouth and pretended to be a dead dog. He was the one who pushed Jiang Fong. Only the lawyer took out his phone and made a few calls. It was unknown who he was talking to for a long time. In the end, he restated the terms of the settlement. In the face of undeniable evidence, the Japanese chose to compromise. They apologized to Lu Chun and paid a total of 12 million won to Jiang Fong and the other crew members who were beaten, which was equivalent to 70,000 renminbi. In the end, under the auspices of the Korean police, the two sides signed a mediation agreement. By the time Lu Chun and the others came out and reunited with Chun Feier and the others who were waiting in the reception room of the police station, the sky was already dark. "Are you guys okay?" Chun Feier, who had been waiting outside for several hours, asked with concern, "Did they make things difficult for you?" Lu Chun smiled and said, "It's fine. The Japanese have apologized." "That's good." Chun Feier breathed a big sigh of relief and said, "I was worried to death. There were many calls from home. Lucy also called several times. Everyone is very concerned about you. Now the internet is abuzz. Let's make a statement together." Lu Chun's heart skipped a beat, and he said, "There's no hurry." He pulled the people from SPG over and asked, "Mr. Choi, can you make a copy of the video from the police station?" SPG's representative in the Full House of Romance was surnamed Choi. He was an agent under SPG and was also a native of Jeju Island. He was in charge of the local filming and liaison matters. Representative Choi was in his 40s. Not only was he sophisticated, but he could also speak Chinese. As soon as he heard Lu Chen's words, he understood and replied without hesitation, "I'll try," if it was a criminal case. Asking the police for evidence would result in a lawsuit. However, as it was a small civil dispute that had been successfully mediated, it was much easier to make a copy of the video. As the representative of SPG, if he could not even do this, he could only go home and eat kimchi. Representative Choi pulled his lawyer over and negotiated with the police for a few minutes before getting the video as he wished. With the evidence in hand, Lu Chun immediately called his sister in China. At the same time, he sent a copy of the video to her. Lu Chun had not expected this matter to appear on the domestic online media so quickly. However, he knew very well that someone would definitely take the opportunity to stir up trouble. In the past year since his debut, Lu Chun had experienced a few storms and deeply understood the complexity of the entertainment industry. There were definitely more than one or two people in the industry who were looking forward to something happening to him and waiting to hit him when he was down. Therefore, it was very necessary to clarify the truth of the matter and protect his own reputation. However, Lu Chun decided not to make a statement for the time being because he had a better choice. Although the unexpected conflict had calmed down, the crew's afternoon had also been wasted. The scenes that could have been filmed today could only be delayed until tomorrow. Everyone returned to the hotel in Jeju City. Lu Chun and Chan Fei especially arranged a sumptuous banquet to comfort the crew. Although the young men had suffered in the conflict, their courage was worthy of encouragement and praise. There was also Jiang Fong. In addition to the necessary comfort, the crew would also pay for it as a work-related injury. At around 7 p.m., the Lu Chun arrested in Korea incident on Waves' blog continued to ferment. While Lu Chun and Chan Fei-er's studio remained silent, the well-known blogger Stray Cats posted a blog post on his blog. The truth behind Lu Chen's fight in Korea. In this blog post, Stray Cats released a video that claimed to have been transferred from Korea's largest community website, Cyworld, revealing the truth of the incident. Whether or not Lu Chun maliciously injured people, whether or not he participated in the fight, and what was the cause of the incident, all of these questions were answered in this 7-minute video. Stray Cats also had 1 or 2 million fans on Waves' blog. In addition, the content of the blog post was related to the current hot topic, and with the support of the power behind the scenes, this blog post and video were quickly forwarded and passed on. At 8:30 p.m., Lu Chun's studio, Chan Fei-er's studio, Crown Pictures, and the official Chinese blog of SPG published an official statement at the same time, explaining the cause and effect of the incident in detail to the public, as well as the results of the Korean police's mediation. Due to the previous irrefutable video evidence, the reliability of these statements was beyond doubt. The public opinion on the internet immediately leaned towards Lu Chen's side. The Everything is 3 that had previously attacked Lu Chun was now silent. Faced with the ridicule of countless netizens, he deleted the previous blog post, closed the comment section, and retracted his head to pretend to be a tortoise. As for those who followed the trend, waving flags and shouting, they disappeared in an instant. Chapter 368. The public opinion on the internet seemed to be like a storm in summer, full of unpredictable uncertainty. One moment, it was a storm. The next moment, it may be a sunny day after the rain. The speed of the reversal often caught people off guard. In the afternoon, the incident of Lu Chen's arrest in South Korea broke out on blogs. In the evening, netizens overwhelmingly supported Lu Chun, which made his popularity rise to another level. It could be regarded as a blessing in disguise. And the change in the situation was indispensable to the help of Lu Chen's friends and partners. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to clarify the truth. After all, the forces that opposed him before were very strong. This was thanks to Lu Chen's consistent benefit-sharing strategy, because he always believed that, when his own foundation was very weak, holding quality resources, and eating alone was a way to bring disaster. For example, in the new drama, Full House of Romance currently being filmed, Lu Chen is roped in big shots in the industry, such as Beijing Television, Zhejiang Satellite TV, Crown Pictures, Flying Stone Records, SPG, and so on. While ensuring his own core interests, he shared part of the cake to consolidate his foundation in the entertainment industry. As soon as Lu Chen had an accident, of course, these partners would not stand by and watch, because it involved their interests. So when Lu Chen issued an official statement, it quickly reversed the passive situation on the internet. The undercurrent that wanted to throw him into the abyss was naturally helpless. On the way to the top, Lu Chen was no longer alone, and no one dared to underestimate him. Of course, his biggest supporters were still his thousands of fans. When the incident first came to light, most fans believed in Lu Chen and supported Lu Chen. They were not confused by the rumors on the internet and insisted on waiting for the truth to come. A small number of fans wavered and talked about it skeptically. A very small number of people turned from fans to haters, expressing their dissatisfaction and disgust with Lu Chen in blogs, forums, and Tieba. After the truth came out, these fans realized their mistakes. Some were silent, and some apologized to Lu Chen. As for those fans who had always supported Lu Chen, it was as if they had won a huge victory. They laughed at those guys who attacked Lu Chen, including many big V's and small V's in the Waves blog. It was just that the pleasure brought about by a one-sided victory could not last long, and the opponents who had been slapped in the face all pretended to be dead dogs, so the dissatisfied fans quickly shifted their focus. The new focus was on Lu Chen's martial arts skills. The video, which was shot by a South Korean tourist, had already been circulated on the internet in both China and South Korea. It was a very good video, showing the process of Lu Chen charging into the chaotic crowd and taking down the 6 Japanese bodyguards. In fact, the time that Lu Chen made his move was very short. From the time he intervened in the battle to the time he ended the battle, the whole process lasted less than a minute. Not only did he defeat many opponents in a row, but his tactical movements were like flowing water, so smooth that it was dazzling. It was really amazing. Fans who were familiar with Lu Chen knew that Lu Chen practiced martial arts. Last year, when he participated in a performance in Hangzhou, he once saved Tian Tian, who was attacked by crazy fans. The video of that time was also recorded, and it caused quite a stir on the internet. However, the situation at that time was very different from this time. At that time, Lu Chen's opponent was only one person, and it was just an ordinary person. The difference in strength was not strong. This time, Lu Chen was facing 6 well-trained bodyguards. These bodyguards were suppressing the crew members who outnumbered them. Lu Chen turned the tide with his own strength, undoubtedly highlighting big strength. My Chen is mighty. Guys, what do you think Lu Chen used Big's Kung Fu? Kickboxing? Sanda? I don't know what Kung Fu it is, but it's very powerful. To be honest, when I first saw the video, I thought it was a martial arts film. Even martial arts films are not as powerful as Lu Chen. This is real Kung Fu. Watching it makes me want to learn Kung Fu. Not only Lu Chen's fans, but many celebrities in the circle also joined in the fun. While reposting the video, they praised Lu Chen's extraordinary skills. Some even said that they wanted to worship Lu Chen as a teacher. Of course, this was just a joke or to ride on the popularity. One of the famous actors, Tang Chong, after watching the video, specially quoted a poem from Li Bai's Ode to the Gallant on his blog, praising Lu Chen for having the chivalrous spirit of ancient times, helping the weak and fighting the bully. I know Teacher Tang. In the business suite of the Hilton Hotel in Jeju City, South Korea, Chun Ferrer, who was leaning on Lu Chen's arms and looking at her phone blog, said he once starred in a movie, The 3 Heroes and 5 Righteous, and his Tai Chi is very good. He definitely admires you. The words of the heavenly queen of the music industry were full of pride, because her sweetheart was so brave and strong. To be honest, when Chun Feier saw the video for the first time, she was also shocked. She knew that Lu Chen had always been practicing Kung Fu, but she did not expect Lu Chen to be so strong that he could easily win against 6 people. As she said that, Chun Fei could not help but love Lu Chun in her heart, so she leaned over and gave Lu Chun a kiss on the cheek. She said with a smile, "I think if you go and shoot a martial arts film, it will definitely be a big hit." Martial arts film. Chun Fei was actually just joking, but Lu Chun revealed a thoughtful look. "I can think about it." Chun Fei was surprised. "You can't be serious, right?" Martial arts film was a type of film and TV series derived from martial arts novels. In the 1980s and 1990s, it was quite popular in Xinjiang and the mainland, but with the impact of foreign action films, it quickly declined. Now, martial arts films had basically disappeared, and at present, the more popular genre in China was the mythical xinxia film that was adapted from popular online novels, and there were many movies and TV series. In the hearts of young people, martial arts novels and martial arts films were antiques of the last century. Even if Lu Chun had a strong market appeal, it was estimated that it would not bring a high box office if he were to shoot a retro martial arts film. Lu Chun said seriously, "What if I'm serious?" Martial arts films had been on the decline for a long time, but this did not mean that this genre was dead. In Lu Chun's impression, the martial arts films he had seen, whether it was the storyline or the action design, were far from comparable to the works of the same genre in the dream world. The martial arts films and martial arts dramas in the dream world were created countless brilliant, and the martial arts films derived from them even had a world-class influence. This was a huge gold mine. If he took out the classic martial arts works in the dream world, would be liked by young people today? Lu Chun was not 100% sure, but through this accident, he saw a suitable opportunity. Of course, times were changing, and many things had to conform to the development of the times in order to shine the light they should. Lu Chun's idea was that if he wanted to shoot a martial arts film, then he would first create a popular martial arts IP. "You want to write a martial arts novel?" When Chun Fei understood Lu Chun's idea, she felt a little confused. She knew that Lu Chun was very talented. Not only could he write songs, but he could also write novels and screenplays. Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance were both written by Lu Chun. But to change from an urban romance novel to a martial arts novel, wasn't the style change a little too big? Was Lu Chun really not fantasizing? Lu Chun smiled and said, "Why not try?" He suddenly had a very good idea. That was, during the filming of Full House of Romance, he would write a long martial arts novel, create a pen name, and serialize it on the internet to test the market's response. If the market's response was good, then he would use this martial arts novel as a basis to shoot a TV series or even a movie. As his own strength continued to grow, Lu Chun's ambition was no longer satisfied with shooting TV series. He set his eyes on the higher end of the movie market. That was where the highest level of fame lay. And with his current fame and status in the circle, if he wanted to be the protagonist in a movie, as long as it was not a super big production, it would not be a big problem. He would definitely be able to find a partner. But the competition in the conventional movie genre was extremely fierce. No matter how confident Lu Chun was, he did not dare to say that he would be successful if he went in, not to mention that he wanted to be in control of it. To make a name for himself in today's movie market, he must have a magic weapon to win. Lu Chun's magic weapon was the memories in the dream world, whether it was a martial arts film or a kung fu film. If he wanted to achieve his ambition, it was not something that could be done overnight. Whether his idea could be achieved or not also needed to be verified by the market, and a popular IP also needed time to ferment. Lu Chun originally planned to start implementing his plan in 1 or 2 years, but the opportunity that appeared now made him feel that it might be a good choice to do it in advance. You mean not to use your own name, but to use a newcomer's pen name to write an online martial arts novel? Chun Fei was shocked by Lu Chun's bold idea. Will that work? Lu Chun smiled and said, "That's right. If we can form an IP, then the studio will come forward and buy the copyright. At that time, whether it is a movie or a TV series, I will be the male lead, and you'll be the female lead." Chun Fei was amused by him. "Isn't this the same as the left hand turning to the right hand? What are you thinking? Isn't it better to use your own name to write it? Also, it has always been the two of us as the main leads. Aren't you afraid that the audience will be sick of it? Lu Chun touched his chin and thought, this is a problem. Then who do you think should be the female lead? No one. Chun Fei-er's attention was suddenly diverted. Even the heavenly queen could be jealous. Yua. But before she could finish her words, she was blocked by Lu Chen's mouth. It was a good night. How could they waste their precious time on such a discussion? Lu Chun pressed Chun Fei under his body, and suddenly the room was full of spring. Chapter 369. Beijing, late at night. Dragging heavy steps, Wan Xiaoquan returned to his home on the 5th Ring Road. This 70-square-meter two-bedroom apartment is not only Wan Xiaoquan's current residence, but also his only valuable property. It was originally rented to others. After he was released from prison, it was his only home. Wan Xiaoquan originally had a large, well-decorated house in the 3rd Ring Road. When he divorced, he divided his property to his ex-wife. For his ex-wife, Wan Xiaoquan admitted that he owed a lot. And this home was very simple and crude, without even decent furniture. The ground was covered with cheap composite floors, which glowed with cold light under the light of the ceiling lamp, as if it was silently laughing at him. As soon as he closed the door, a strong feeling of vomiting arose from his stomach, making the former director couldn't help but run to the bathroom, throw himself on the toilet and vomit. After vomiting all the food and wine he had eaten in the evening, he vomited until his stomach acid came out. He finally felt a little better, flushed the toilet, washed his face, and staggered to make himself a cup of strong tea. After swallowing a few pieces of stomach medicine with tea, Wan Xiaoquan sat down on the dirty and dusty sofa, his face twitching slightly. It's been some time since he was released from prison, and he hasn't found a suitable job. Originally, with Wan Xiaoquan's qualifications and fame in the film and television industry, there were many investors who wanted to find him to cooperate. But what happened last time, when he made a new film, not only put him in prison, but also ruined his future. No one will ask Wan Xiaoquan to be a director at this time, because his reputation in the circle is bad, and he is also listed on it. Everyone is afraid to avoid him. With great difficulty, he found a film and television company. He gritted his teeth and took out his few savings in the bank to entertain the person in charge of the other party, asking for only a position as an assistant director. As a result, he spent the money and drank until he vomited, but he didn't get a clear response. Wan Xiaoquan knew that there was no hope. But if he doesn't shoot, what can he do? Go to the construction site to move bricks? A bitter smile appeared on Wan Xiaoquan's lips, as well as deep regret. If he wasn't so impulsive, if he could listen to his friend's advice, if he could... It's useless to say anything now. Wan Xiaoquan really doesn't want to bother his retired teacher anymore. Although relying on Zhang Wentian's face, he could get a job somewhere and linger on in the strange eyes of others. What little pride he had left would not allow him to do such a thing. After sitting on the sofa for a long time, Wan Xiaoquan returned to his bedroom and lay on the bed, but he was not sleepy at all. His stomach ached convulsively. After enduring for a while, he sat up again, got out of bed, and turned on his computer. It was a long night. Let's use this to pass the time of insomnia. Wan Xiaoquan slowly browsed through the information on the internet. He was especially attentive when it came to movies. In the Waves blog, he saw Lu Chen's name. It was the headline on the front page of the blog. Wan Xiaoquan remembered Lu Chen. The only time he saw Lu Chen was at Zhang Wentian's house. The tall, handsome, and polite young man left a deep impression on him. Wan Xiaoquan only knew that Lu Chen was a singer and an actor who had just shot a very popular TV series. So now that he saw Lu Chen's headline name on the Waves blog, he couldn't help but feel curious and clicked on the search. He quickly learned what happened to Lu Chen, and at the same time, he saw the video that had been forwarded millions of times. Wan Xiaoquan watched this video of a few minutes for more than half an hour, repeatedly watching it, dragging the progress bar back and forth, and focusing on Lu Chen. His eyes were getting brighter and brighter, as if he had found a treasure. Different from what others were paying attention to, Wan Xiaoquan was indifferent to the superb skills and fighting abilities shown by Lu Chun in the video. What he saw was a kind of momentum or aura that Lu Chun had, unruffled, confident, and powerful. If this kind of aura appeared on Artiste, it meant that he had the potential to become a superstar. Real superstars all have the same or similar temperament. Wan Xiaoquan didn't expect that such a young Lu Chun would have such a temperament. All kinds of thoughts in his mind grew wildly like weeds after the rain. Wan Xiaoquan suddenly remembered that when he met Lu Chun at Zhang Wentian's house, Lu Chun once gave him a business card. Where did this business card go? Wan Xiaoquan instinctively fumbled in his pocket and took out his wallet, but was not there at all. He couldn't help but become anxious, rummaging through the drawers and bedside cabinets, and even running to the tea machine in the living room to look for his bag. A strong intuition was telling the former director that he had made too many mistakes, and he mustn't make them again this time. He must find this business card. South Korea, Jeju Island. Although there were unexpected twists and turns, the filming work of the full house of romance crew in this tourist resort was not affected much, and the rest of the scenes were successfully shot the next morning. In the afternoon, the crew left Jeju Island for Seoul to continue filming in South Korea. The impact of the Wang Haitai incident did not disappear with the departure of the full house of romance crew. Instead, it exploded into a new hot topic on the internet. The Japanese man who had a conflict with Lu Chun was there to take promotional photos of the artiste. And this artiste, who was protected by multiple bodyguards, was Japan's Kitagawa Koji. Kitagawa Koji was a star idol who had risen rapidly in Japan in recent years. He was 1 year younger than Lu Chun. Since his debut, his path to stardom had been smooth. He was well-rounded in singing and acting. Not only did he have a large number of fans in China, but he also had a certain influence in South Korea. He came to Jeju Island to shoot a photo shoot, mainly for the endorsement of a South Korean clothing brand. As a result, the video of the conflict between Kitagawa Koji and Lu Chun was posted on South Korea's largest community website, Cyworld. Someone immediately recognized the star, which then caused a heated discussion among South Korean netizens, especially Kitagawa Koji's fans. Interestingly, there were also many South Korean fans of Lu Chun in Cyworld. However, Lu Chun's fans had the upper hand in the debate. It was not only because Kitagawa Koji was Japanese, but also because his performance in front of Lu Chun was a little unsightly. His pathetic appearance made people shudder. South Koreans and Japanese had a common ethnic trait, which was that outsiders respected the strong. Therefore, the number of fans of Lu Chun on the Korean internet increased exponentially. In the end, there was soon news that the South Korean clothing brand had the intention to give up on Kitagawa Koji and let Lu Chun be the endorsement. Regardless of whether the news was true or not, Lu Chun was once again popular in South Korea. As the news and rumors spread into China, it had a positive impact on his image. However, nothing was perfect in this world. There were also negative consequences. Kitagawa Koji's Japanese fans would definitely see Lu Chun as an enemy. Chapter 370. Beijing, Capital International Airport. The flight arrival announcement had been broadcasted twice in a row. Many people were gathered outside the exit of Terminal T2. More than a dozen airport security personnel were guarding the crowd outside the cordon. Other than the reporters with cameras or video cameras, there were more young people holding welcome signs. The nearby passengers could not help but cast curious or surprised looks, guessing which big shot had come from abroad. "They're here! They're here!" Accompanied by shouts from the crowd, a group of people carrying large and small bags and pushing luggage carts appeared in the corridor. At the front of the group was a tall man wearing sunglasses and a woman in a white dress and mask. The two were holding hands, looking very intimate. Click! Click! The next moment, flashes lit up one after another, and many long and short guns were aimed at the couple. Lu Chun, Chun Fei. The people gathered outside immediately let out loud cheers, mixed with confessions such as "I love you" and so on. Pieces of well-made signboards were raised high, making the atmosphere of the scene exceptionally warm. Many people tried to push forward, causing a small disturbance. Fortunately, the airport security personnel were experienced and controlled the situation in time, not causing a real riot. Lu Chun was shocked by the scene in front of him and could not help but stop in his tracks. The crew of Full of Romance had filmed in Seoul for 2 days and returned to Beijing today, May 20th. At this point, the new drama's foreign plot had been completely filmed, and there was already a local subcrew in Beijing filming related scenes for supporting roles. After the two crews reunited, they would move to Jinling Film City. Lu Chun did not expect that he and Chan Fei would receive such a grand welcome at the airport. There were at least hundreds of fans present, and there were also many media reporters. It was Chan Fei who was experienced and said softly, "Don't worry about these reporters. Let's go straight away. Don't stay here. The transport should be waiting outside." Lu Chun nodded and pulled Chun Fei to speed up their pace towards the exit. "Lu Chun, what do you think of the conflict with Kitagawa Koji?" "Miss Chun Fei, can you talk about your thoughts when Lu Chun was taken away by the Korean police?" "Lu Chun, at that time on Jeju Island, what was your motive for doing it yourself?" Lu Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry in the face of these reporters' messy questions. No wonder Chun Fei told him to ignore them. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain them clearly even if he talked for a long time. He didn't expect that the impact of this incident would be so big. When he was in Seoul, not only did the local Korean TV station interview him, but there were also several domestic media reporters who came to interview him. However, Lu Chun had already said what he needed to say, and he had even made a statement on his blog. He had no intention of using this incident to create hype, even though the internet was abuzz. "Lu Chun, can I have your autograph?" A young female fan struggled to get past the security guards and tried her best to hand a notebook and autograph pen to Lu Chun. Her delicate face was red, and she looked like she was about to cry. Lu Chun didn't want to pay attention to the reporters, but seeing this teenage girl ignore the security guards scolding and push and desperately try to get an autograph, he really couldn't be indifferent anymore. Lu Chun quickly let go of Chan Fei and walked over quickly. He took the pen from the other party and quickly signed his name on the book. After signing, Lu Chun apologized to the two airport security guards who looked unfriendly. "I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble." He didn't expect this situation. The crew didn't know that there would be so many fans coming to the airport today. Otherwise, they could just go through the VIP channel and there would be no problem. He had caused a lot of trouble for the airport for no reason. The two security guards looked at each other, and one of them said, "It doesn't matter. You go quickly. I'll ask my colleagues to clear the way for you. Don't block the door." In fact, they had encountered this kind of situation many times. Lu Chun was the first star artist to apologize to them. Usually, big stars didn't pay attention to small security guards like them. Lu Chun. Seeing a fan get Lu Chun's autograph, the other fans became more and more excited, and they also wanted to have a close contact with their idol. Lu Chun knew that if he didn't leave now, something might really happen. He quickly waved to these fans and said, "Thank you." However, he pulled Chun Fei and quickly left the exit under the protection of the security guards. They boarded the business car waiting outside the reception area. After the car drove forward for a distance, Lu Chun finally breathed a big sigh of relief. Chun Fei said with a smile, "Congratulations, you have your own fan." The term star chaser first appeared in the 1990s. As the name suggested, it referred to some people or groups of people who admired stars. Star chasers were basically young people with a fashionable mentality and a strong sense of motivation. Fans belonged to fans, but they were different from ordinary fans. The social evaluation of them was not very high. There were often reports in the news about some people who were so crazy about stars that they forgot to eat and sleep, and some even went to the extreme. It was a piece of cake to go to the airport to pick up stars. In order to meet their idols, some fans even followed their idols from thousands of miles away, persevering to get close to their idols. From a certain point of view, If an idol didn't have fanatical fans, he wouldn't be considered a success. As a result, some professional fans were born. They were secretly hired by the agencies of the idols and stars to act as the leaders of the fan group, or to seize the right to speak and constantly create hype for the idols and stars. Lu Chen has opened his own studio. Although he has budget investment in media publicity, he has never hired half a professional fan. Therefore, these star chasers are undoubtedly his true love fans, which is enough to show how popular he is now. Lu Chen knew a little about this group, so he was more helpless about Chun Fei's teasing. It was not necessarily a good thing to have a lot of fans. They might face all kinds of harassment in ordinary times. In contrast, those fans who were active in live broadcasting platforms, blogs, and forums were really much more lovely. Ring, ring, ring. Lu Chen was about to discuss a few words with Chun Fei when his cell phone, which had just been turned on, suddenly rang. It was Sister Li who called him. Lu Chen, have you arrived in Beijing? Lu Chen said with a smile. Just arrived. We are in the car now. Sister Li, do you have any instructions? Sister Li said angrily. What instructions? I have booked a seat in Dihao. Come with Fei. It's a welcome dinner for you. Lu Chen said straightforwardly. Okay, Fei, and I will arrive around 6 o'clock. How about that? Sister Li said happily. Okay, then I will go and wait for you. See you there. After hanging up the phone, Lu Chen said to Chun Fei, Sister Li will treat us to a meal. Chun Fei said with a smile. You will be busy. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. Chapter 371. Although Sister Li did not say it clearly, both Lu Chen and Chun Fei knew that her invitation to dinner was not as simple as welcoming them. Zhang Juanji's Tiger Cubs were about to debut. The Tiger Cubs were a boy group proposed by Lu Chen. Its members included Zhang Juanji, who were Ran, and Yu Yang, who were only in their teens. They mainly targeted the market of people under the age of 17. As the saying goes, parents love their children the most. Sister Li had put a lot of effort into the Little Tiger clan. Not only did she find 2 young men suitable for her sons, but she also spent a lot of money to send the 3 of them to the most famous Star Fate art gallery in the capital for comprehensive training. The 3 young lads were also quite hardworking. Originally, they were expected to spend a year to complete the training course. But after half a year of hard work, they met the requirements for their debut and successfully graduated from Star Fate Art Gallery. For any artist, their debut was undoubtedly a major event in their life. Although Zhang Juanji had already made a name for himself in the entertainment industry through Autumn in My Heart, for Sister Li, this was Zhang Juanji's real debut. She could not tolerate the Tiger Cubs' debut in public with any flaws. Therefore, even though she knew it was not appropriate, she still invited Lu Chen and Chun Fei, who had just returned to China. Without Lu Chen, there would be no Tiger Cubs. Without Lu Chen, there would be no glory for the Tiger Cubs' debut. Hello, Teacher Lu. Hello, Teacher Chen. At 6 o'clock in the evening, in the Golden Rose Hall of the Dihao Hotel, 3 handsome young men greeted Lu Chen and Chun Fei, who had just arrived in the box. Lu Chen smiled and said, Hello, I haven't seen you for a long time. The last time he saw the Tiger Cubs was half a year ago in Star Fate Art Gallery. After half a year, the 3 boys were still immature, but they already had a unique temperament of artists. Moreover, their words and actions were full of stars. Star Fate Art Gallery's ability to train new artists was recognized by the industry. Chun Fei deliberately put on a straight face. Why do you call me teacher? Am I very old? The 3 teenagers looked at each other in dismay at the Heavenly Queen's unreasonable behavior. Did they call her teacher wrongly? Zhang Juanji was quick-witted and quickly corrected himself. Sister Fei, who ran and Yu Yang hurriedly followed. Good. Chun Fei's eyes curved into crescents as he smiled. Here's a present for you. Knowing that the 3 members of the Little Tigers would be present, she had prepared 3 gifts as souvenirs from Korea. Thank you, Sister Fei. After the greetings and the meeting gifts were given, it was time to talk business. Sister Li wasn't in a hurry. She first invited the two of them to take a seat, then started praising Lu Chun. Lu Chun, you've won glory for our country in Korea this time. Everyone is giving you a thumbs up now. You're really awesome. Zhang Juanji nodded. That's right. My classmates have seen the video, and they all want to learn martial arts. Hui Ran and Yu Yang both looked at Lu Chun with shining eyes. In their hearts, Lu Chun is undoubtedly a real idol. He can write, sing, act, and know martial arts. He is extremely powerful in both literature and martial arts. Which teenager hasn't dreamed of being a hero? Lu Chun said with a smile, Sisterly, don't flatter me anymore. When will Juanji and the others make their debut? Sisterly said with a smile, on the 28th, Beijing TV Channel 2's Rising Star Show is preparing to participate in Singing China in June. Lu Chun understood as soon as he heard it. An artist debut is a very broad concept. The first release of a single, acting in a movie or TV play, appearing on a variety show, and even making an announcement. As long as it is the first time to appear in public and promote, it can be classified as a debut. However, different artists and different entertainment agencies had completely different strategies for their debut. Ordinary new artists and key training rookies are two completely different concepts. Sisterly only has one precious son, Zhang Juanji. She has also opened an agency and has a wide network in Beijing Circle. Naturally, she has to rack her brains and spare no expense. The Rising Star Show on Beijing TV station's second variety channel is a variety show with high ratings. It mainly promotes new artists in the entertainment industry, with a dual nature of interviews and performances. The show is broadcast in prime time on Saturday, with one episode a week. Generally speaking, those who can appear on Rising Star Show are young artists who have emerged in the circle, and those who can appear on the show are not simple. For a brand new group, like the Little Tiger Group, even if their captain, Zhang Juanji, has a little fame, if Sisterly doesn't have a good public relations, it is estimated that even if she can appear on the show, there may not be a suitable schedule. Making their official debut in Rising Star Show, their starting point and level are not low, and then appearing on Singing China, Sisterly's road to fame for the Little Tiger Group, is very clear. As for Lu Chun, he can stand for the Little Tiger Group on Rising Star Show. Sisterly does not shy away from this, nor is she afraid of owing Lu Chun a favor. She even has ideas about Chun Feier. In this year's second season of Singing China, Chun Feier is still one of the 4 judges. Singing China had good ratings in the first season last year, and even beat Shonen TV's Super Singer. The first reality show was a great success, and Beijing television, which has tasted the sweetness, couldn't stop. Therefore, this year's Singing China has a higher publicity intensity than last year. Originally, Beijing television invited Lu Chun to be a judge in the audition. At that time, it was a lot of face for Lu Chun, but now this identity is no longer appropriate and unworthy of Lu Chun's position. If it weren't for the fact that the 4 judges had signed a contract in advance, it would have been entirely possible for Lu Chun and Chun Feier to appear on the judging panel at the same time. In response to Sister Lee's request, Lu Chun agreed without hesitation. Sister Lee had been helping the two of them manage the Chun Fei Charity Foundation. She had been working diligently to make a name for herself. At present, the foundation had established cooperative relationships with many Class 3 Grade A hospitals in the country to help those leukemia patients who needed help, so that the donations could be used reasonably and effectively. For this, Lu Chun is also duty-bound. The dinner was enjoyed by both the guests and the host. Back at his home in Ziqingyuan, Lu Chun closed the door and held Chun Feier in his arms. Chun Feier's eyes were like silk, and she said with a smile, "Take a bath first." Lu Chun shook his head with a smile and asked, "Do you know what date is today?" Chun Feier was stunned. "What day?" Lu Chun sighed. "What day is it today?" Chun Feier, 20th? She finally woke up. 5/20, Internet Valentine's Day. "That's right," Lu Chun said with a smile. "There's a prize." As if by magic, he produced a small jewelry box, purple velvet. Chun Feier's pretty face was flushed, and her eyes were full of intoxicating charm, infinite tenderness. Chapter 372. On May 20th, the same night that the crew of Full House of Romance returned to Beijing from South Korea, many fans discovered that Chun Feier had updated his blog on Waves. The content of the blog post was very simple. There were only two sentences. 520 is a gift from someone. Do you think it looks good? There was a picture below the text. A delicate hand was pressed on the keyboard of a laptop. There was a ruby ring on her middle finger. The ring was as red as pigeon's blood, and the diamonds around it were dazzling under the light. Her skin was as white as snow, luxurious and exquisite. Chun Feier's fans were suddenly fired up. What day is it today? May 20th, Cyber Valentine's Day. Countless single fans immediately suffered a ton of damage, crying and wailing in the comments. The blogger has made a fatal blow. Singles HP 10,000. Another crazy public display of affection. I can't stand it. I'm going to turn from a fan to a hater. Ah, someone must be Lu Chun. He even gave her a ring. Did he succeed in his proposal? Don't guess blindly. You should give a diamond ring when you propose, and it's on the ring finger. I'm so envious. Rubies are very beautiful. If anyone can give me one, I'll marry him immediately. Lu Chun is very considerate. Rubies were known as the stone of love. The hot red color made people always associate them with passion and love. It symbolized passion like fire, representing the beauty, eternity, and steadfastness of love. Lu Chun bought this ring in Seoul. He chose this special day to give Chun Feier a romantic surprise. As for the damage caused by the latter showing off on his blog, it could only be regarded as an accident. Many fans, after reading Chun Feier's blog, went to Lu Chun's blog. To show affection, they must show the whole set. After Chun Feier showed it, Lu Chun must show it next. Those single fans who had suffered a blow no longer cared about being hurt again. If they were going to be abused, they might as well abuse them to the end. However, Lu Chun did not post pictures of his gifts on his blog. Instead, he posted a song, a work that he had just recorded. The title of the song was the name of the title, I Have You in My Life. Because I dreamed that you were gone. I awoke from crying, watching the night wind blowing through the window. Can you feel my love? Until the day I grow old, are you still by my side? Look at those oaths and lies, the past slowly drifted away. How many have loved thy youthful countenance? Who would be willing to endure the ruthless vicissitudes of time? How many people have come and gone in your life? Do you know that I will always be by your side in this lifetime? Since the shooting of Autumn in My Heart last year, Lu Chun has focused on films and TV plays, giving people the feeling that he has temporarily bid farewell to the pop music world. But he still existed in the pop music world and his story. It's just that for many fans, they love Lu Chun more as a singer than as a Star Idol actor. They like Lu Chun songs and hope that Lu Chun can create more and better works. From time to time, fans ask on Lu Chun's blog when he will release a new album, when he will hold a solo concert, when he will let everyone hear, "You who sat next to me, those flowers, the brightest star in the night sky again now." Those eagerly anticipating fans have finally gotten a little satisfaction. Even if this song is sung for someone. When everything seems calm, whether there is a kind of persistence still in my heart. This song, I Have You in My Life, is an impromptu work by Lu Chun. It is sung with pure piano accompaniment. The lyrics and music continue his usual style. The lyrics are vivid, concise, and appropriate, and the melody is smooth, soothing, and natural, and full of affection. Although there is no gorgeous arrangement and no deliberately sensational interpretation, it is precisely this kind of heartfelt emotion expressed through music so that no one can remain indifferent. Listening to this original Lu Chun's new work, everyone seems to see him sitting in front of the piano, playing the piano while singing to Chun Feier. What a romantic confession, especially a few of the lyrics. How many people have loved your appearance when you were young? Do you know who is willing to bear the ruthless changes of time? How many people have come and gone in your life? Do you know that I will always be by your side in this lifetime? It is even more moving and sentimental. What moves people's hearts is true feelings, not just the lyrics and music in the work. Lyrics and music can't carry the deep, true feelings. They can only help to express the feelings in the heart. If love is action, then love is dedication rather than taking. Love is giving yourself for the needs of the other party without complaint or regret. Love is the sincere happiness when the other party needs you. Everyone can hear that Lu Chen used this song to confess to Chen Feier. Although the fans have gradually become used to the love and romance between the two, today hearing this song, I Have You in My Life, still has an indescribable feeling. Do you know that I will always be by your side in this lifetime? Lu Chen's 520 blog post has only been published for half an hour, but it has been forwarded more than 10,000 times, and the number of comments has doubled. Moreover, many musicians in the circle have liked and left comments after listening to this song. I think Chen Feier should be the luckiest woman in the world today. It's a very nice song, with the style characteristics of lyrical ballads and love songs, romantic and warm. Maybe a little sad, but it is precisely this sadness that more reflects the beauty of love. I sincerely hope that Lu Chen will stop filming TV dramas. He belongs to the pop music industry. It is a kind of happiness to be able to hear this song on such a special day. The influence of Waves' blog was so great that Chen Feier's photos and Lu Chen's song quickly appeared on the homepage of major entertainment websites the next day. The latter was even praised as the most romantic confession of 520. There was even an internationally famous jewelry company that contacted the two studios, hoping that Lu Chen and Chen Feier could endorse their brand together. At this time, Lu Chen and Chen Feier had already left Beijing and were heading to Jinling Film City to continue the filming of Full House of Romance. As the saying goes, a flower planted intentionally does not bloom, but a willow planted unintentionally grows. After the Jeju Island incident and 520 confession, Full of Romance became more and more popular on the internet and in the media without any deliberate marketing and promotion. It was regarded as the most anticipated TV series of the summer. Many media reporters simply ran to Jinling Film City to follow the crew of Full House of Romance to grab information. Although it caused a little disruption to the normal work of the crew, the partners were smiling from ear to ear. Under normal circumstances, such media popularity might not be able to be hyped up even if they spent millions of yuan on publicity. It was believed that the premiere of Full House of Romance would definitely have extremely high ratings. Everyone would get rich together. Cooperating with Lu Chen was indeed the right choice. However, at the same time, Full House of Romance and the male and female leads frequently appeared in the media entertainment film and television version, constantly attracting the attention of fans and audiences and also putting pressure on competitors. Last year, Autumn in My Heart became an instant hit, causing many film and television production companies and entertainment agencies to set their eyes on the same theme. They all started to invest and follow the trend. At least 7 new TV series of the same type in the industry started shooting at the same time, including Shonen TV's Sea of Love. Not only did it invite Zhang Liwei and Hu Yang, who became famous because of Autumn in My Heart, to play the male and female leads, but the cast and investment scale were very large. It was very likely to collide head-on with Full House of Romance during the summer. Shonen TV had always paid attention to marketing and publicity. In the face of the rising popularity of Full House of Romance, how could they hold back? They immediately turned on the publicity machine to hype up their new TV series. Zhang Liwei and Hu Yang, who played the male and female leads, constantly released all kinds of information. Rumors that they were in a relationship, and then there were all kinds of gossip from the crew, changing ways to attract the attention of the audience. Although other new TV series were lacking in strength, they could not stay silent. They also spent money to promote it. For a time, the gossip in the industry soared, dazzling people. On May 27th, Lu Chen quietly returned to Beijing alone to participate in the recording of Rising Star show on Beijing TV variety channel. Note, lyricist/composer of With You in a Lifetime, Lu Gingxiu. Chapter 373. Rising Star Show is an interview program launched in 2010 by the second variety channel of Beijing TV station, which mainly invites new rising stars in literature and art, performing arts, and entertainment industry. Beijing is famous all over the world. The capital is the cultural center of the country, a real gathering place of talents. There are new forces emerging all the time, and new artists belonging to the entertainment industry are, of course, emerging one after another. Therefore, the program of Beijing TV variety channel will never lack protagonists who can make people's eyes light up. Since it started broadcasting, hundreds of newcomers in the industry have been invited, and the ratings have been very good. It is precisely because of this that it is not easy to get on the stage of Rising Star Show. There is only one episode broadcast a week, which is really too many monks and not enough gruel. Sisterly also spent a lot of effort to make the Little Tiger Group debut in Rising Star Show. Like most variety shows, Rising Star Show is not a live broadcast. It is recorded one day in advance. This week's broadcast time is on the 28th, so Lu Chun, as a special guest of the show, returned to Beijing on the 27th. In fact, the Little Tiger Group was able to get on Rising Star Show smoothly, and Sisterly was able to invite Lu Chun to appear. Now Lu Chun has a very good relationship with Beijing TV. The recording of the show began at 1 p.m. on the 27th in Beijing TV's T2 studio. The T2 studio of Beijing TV is not as big as the T1 studio, which was just built last year. It can only accommodate 700 live audiences, and the stage background is much smaller, but it is most suitable for this kind of talk show. For the Little Tiger Group, headed by Zhang Juanji, going from the T2 studio to the T1 studio is their road to rise. Because according to convention, the T1 studio will be the live broadcast venue for the final of Singing China Beijing Division. Next, let's welcome three handsome boys. They are the Little Tiger Group. With the sound of the host's voice falling, cheerful music sounded, and three teenagers in T-shirts and jeans appeared on the stage at the same time, receiving warm applause from the audience. For this kind of interview or other kinds of variety shows, the previous live audience was basically the support of the TV station, and even many of them were simply the staff of the TV station. Therefore, there was no problem with the atmosphere. The live audience's questions and answers were prearranged, and even the audience's expressions and movements had a fixed routine. But the audience in front of the television weren't fools. At first, they couldn't tell. But after playing the same trick many times, the audience felt that something was wrong. No matter how they looked at it, it was fake. Then, there were a lot of comparisons on the internet, and a lot of people were found to be acting on the set of variety shows, which caused a lot of TV viewers to be disgusted. As a result, most TV stations didn't dare to play this game anymore. The audience they invited for their programs had become much more complicated. Although there were still people who supported them, it was much less than before. Today, there were hundreds of fans of the Little Tigers at the scene. Even though the Little Tigers had yet to officially debut, an official blog and fan club had already been established. Sister Lee's management company had people in charge of publicity for the group. Since the leader of the Little Tigers, Zhang Juanji, already had a lot of fans, and the image of the three-member juvenile group was quite perfect, they still managed to gain a lot of fans on the blog by posting pictures of their daily life and training. These fans were mainly from the 2000s, so those who came to the scene to cheer were mostly teenage boys and girls, but most of them were young girls. Seeing the handsome members of the Little Tigers, they immediately raised their signs and cheered. Of course, most of them were shouting Zhang Juanji's name. The atmosphere at the scene immediately became lively, and it was filled with the aura of youth. After Zhang Juanji and the other two sat down, the host smiled and said, "It seems our Little Tigers are very popular, but I think there must be a lot of people who don't know you. Can you introduce yourselves first?" Zhang Juanji: "Hello, host. Hello, everyone. I'm Little Handsome Tiger, Zhang Juanji." Hu Iran: "Hello, everyone. I'm Little Flying Tiger, Hu Iran." Yuyong. Hello, everyone. I'm Little Obedient Tiger, Yuyong. The three of them said in unison, "We are the Little Tigers." Applause, laughter, and screams rang out in the audience at the same time. Regardless of whether they could become real stars in the future, at least their first appearance on the screen would leave a deep impression on the audience. The Rising Star show began with a conversation. The host's questions and the answers of the three members of the Little Tigers must have been carefully planned in advance. However, because it was not a live broadcast for the effect of the show, some of the questions asked by the host were improvised, so they had to consider the adaptability of the rising stars. Of course, if they performed poorly or had any problems, they would definitely be cut in the post-production. But the negative impact was inevitable. There were many fans in the audience. Fortunately, Zhang Juanji and the other two's performances were remarkable. Although they were not amazing or outstanding, it was already very commendable for their age. The host asked again, "You have chosen this path, and at least for now, it seems to be a success. So, who do you want to thank the most?" She looked at Zhang Juanji. Zhang Juanji thought for a while and answered seriously, "The first person I want to thank is my mother. It was my mother who supported and encouraged me to walk on this path, so that I can choose to do what I like. Here, I want to say to my mother, Mom, I love you." This question and answer was not prepared in advance, so the host was stunned. Then he smiled and applauded. "Well said. The one I want to thank the most is my mother." In fact, at this moment, Sister Lee was standing with Lu Chen backstage. Hearing her son's words, her eyes suddenly turned red, but she was smiling happily. Lu Chen put his hands on Sister Lee's shoulders to comfort her. Her story was a legend in the circle. The host continued to ask, "The one you want to thank the most is your mother. Is there anyone else you want to thank?" Zhang Juanji nodded and said, "There is one more, and that is teacher Lu Chen. Without him, there would be no Little Tigers." The host exclaimed in a slightly exaggerated tone, "So Lu Chen is your teacher?" The three of them answered in unison, "Yes." The host smiled and said, "Today we are very lucky to have invited this teacher to the scene. Let's welcome Lu Chen." With the accompaniment of "You Who Sat Next to Me," Lu Chen walked from backstage to the front. The cheers and applause from the audience suddenly became enthusiastic. Chapter 374. Welcome, Lu Chen. Mu Dan, the host of Rising Star Show, and the three members of the Little Tigers stood up and applauded to welcome Lu Chen. "Hello, Mu Dan, Juanji, Garan, Xiaoyang. Good evening, everyone." Lu Chen smiled and nodded to Mu Dan, the host of Rising Star Show, and Zhang Juanji, then waved to the hundreds of audience at the scene, which immediately attracted a burst of cheers. Rising Star Show was different from Star Interview, another interview program on Beijing Television Variety Channel. Star Interview invited new artists who had just emerged in the circle, so the real big names usually did not appear here. Lu Chen had been on Star Interview and appeared on Rising Star Show, which was the first time. He sat down in the seat reserved for him. Mu Dan explained to the audience, "It's really not easy to invite Lu Chen to participate in our Rising Star Show today, because he's currently filming the new TV series Full House of Romance and is really busy with work." She asked Lu Chen, "You came here today, right?" Lu Chen nodded. "Yes, the new TV series is being filmed in Jinling. I came here by high-speed train this morning." The audience applauded. That was really giving them face. Mu Dan introduced, "Full House of Romance is a new TV series starring teacher Lu Chen. It will also premiere on our Beijing television during the summer vacation. Remember to support it then." Lu Chen's new TV series not only premiered on Beijing television, but also Beijing television was involved in the production. So even though it had little to do with Rising Star Show, the host still vigorously promoted it. Lu Chen said, "Thank you, Mu Dan. I won't talk about the new TV series today. Let's talk about the Little Tigers." Everyone laughed. Mu Dan smiled and said, "No wonder the Little Tigers say you are their teacher, one of the people they want to thank the most." Lu Chen said modestly, "Actually, I didn't teach them much." Mu Dan asked, I heard that you came up with the names Little Tigers, a little handsome tiger, a little flying tiger, and little cute tiger, question mark. Luchan nodded. Yes. Mudan smiled. I also know that you have composed a few excellent works for the Little Tigers. Does anyone want to listen to them? Yes. The audience cheered, especially the fans of the Little Tigers, who were even more excited and shouted with all their might. Today was the day that the Little Tiger group officially debuted. However, before their debut, they had already started their promotional activities. On Waves' blog, there were already their official vans and support group vans. There were new blog posts every day. Relying on Zhang Juanji's popularity in Autumn in My Heart and the handsome looks of the three youths, the Little Tigers became popular on the internet before they even debuted and gained a large number of fans. It was just that this unusually young boy group had yet to produce any works. Although everyone knew that they were still learning and training, the patience of the fans was limited. Nowadays, there were many newcomers in the entertainment industry. If they wanted to stand out, they had to rely on their works. The Little Tigers had a good foundation, but without solid works, they were destined to be short-lived. Therefore, seeing that the promotion was almost done, they announced their official debut and used the platform of Rising Star to complete their debut. Mudan smiled at Lu Chun. Let teacher Lu Chun test the results of your studies. Zhang Juanji and the other two stood up and bowed to Lu Chun. Teacher, please give us some pointers. Lu Chun smiled and nodded. He had already accepted the title of teacher, or more accurately, mentor. The relationship between master and disciple was very common in the entertainment industry. Sister Lee had originally planned to hold a formal ceremony to become his disciple, but Lu Chun declined. He had only debuted for a year and did not have enough experience in the entertainment industry. If he were to become someone else's real master, he might become a joke. Of course, rejection was rejection. With his friendship with Chun Fei and Sister Lee, the Little Tigers would definitely see it through to the end. That was why Lu Chun was here today. White cloud crossed the hill, trying hard to find its home. The light rain woke up the sleeping lotus from its dream and opened its smiling face. I made a kite of my youth and climbed up to the sky. The shell climbed up the beach and saw how big the world was. The caterpillar looked forward to a pair of beautiful wings tomorrow. The river lay in the arms of the forest and sang a song written in spring. I slowly weaved the years into a picture. The Little Tigers sang Butterflies Fly, which was tailor-made for them by Lu Chun. The song has a light melody and positive lyrics. While maintaining a popular style, it is also very suitable for teenage boys and girls. According to the scheduled plan, after participating in Singing China, the Little Tigers will release their first album. The title song is Butterflies Fly, which can be regarded as a copy of Lu Chun's successful route. But the Little Tigers are completely different from Lu Chun. They're not only a team, but also a singing and dancing performance. Dance is a very important part of the training that Zhang Juanji and the other two have received in Star Fate Art Museum. Their dance teacher is a professional coach from South Korea. The dance steps have been formally choreographed, accompanied by loud and clear singing, showing the youthful vitality unique to teenagers. Although it was their first time appearing on TV, whether it was Zhang Juanji, Hu Iran, or Yu Yang, they were inevitably a little nervous, and their reaction was slightly stiff and unnatural in their dance. However, after singing half of the song, the results of their usual strict and harsh training came out. The three of them danced more and more easily. Their movements became more and more natural and skillful, and their cooperation with each other was very tacit. Such a Little Tigers brought to the hundreds of audience at the scene an absolutely refreshing feeling. Although there is no lack of boy and girl groups in the entertainment industry, such a young juvenile group is really refreshing and fresh. Needless to say, the fans of the Little Tigers were even more excited. When the Little Tigers finished their performance, many girls clapped desperately with stars in their eyes, pushing the atmosphere to a climax. Such a scene made Zhang Juanji and the other two very excited. They gasped slightly, and their faces were full of happy smiles. The host Mu Dan applauded and said, "It's very nice and the dance is very good. Do you want another song? Yes. The audience responded in unison, and a few female fans even screamed. So Zhang Juanji and the other two continued to perform Whispers of Youth. This song was not Lu Chen's work, but a song that sisterly invited other famous artists to customize for the Little Tigers. Its style and content were consistent with Butterfly Flight. Whispers of Youth was also a good work, but it was obviously inferior to Butterfly Flight. In fact, with the wealth of memory that Lu Chen had, it was not a problem to take out 10 works to fill up the Little Tigers' debut album, but he would not do that. Good things would depreciate when there were too many of them, and a steady stream was the way to go. Now, that even the original music chart was going to introduce new rules to limit the number of works on the chart, it was not a bad thing to keep a low profile. Not to mention the Little Tigers. Even if it was Chun Feier's album in the future, Lu Chen was only going to write 3 or 4 songs. That was enough. Thank you for the wonderful performance of the Little Tigers, Mu Dan said. She turned to look at Lu Chen and asked, So, Mr. Lu Chen, are you satisfied with the performance of your 3 students? Lu Chen replied, 10 points out of 10, I give him 9 points. There was a sudden sound of wow in the audience. They probably did not expect that Lu Chen would give such a high score. Mu Dan was not satisfied. She pretended to be puzzled and asked, Why not 10 points? Where was the point deducted? Lu Chen said with a smile, I gave them 1 point less so that they would not be too proud. His answer was unexpected. Everyone was stunned at first, but after they reacted, there was a burst of laughter. In fact, Lu Chen meant to give full marks, but such a joke would not make people feel disgusted at all, and there was no suspicion of deliberately bragging. Mu Dan smiled and said, Well, the Little Tigers have just performed, and it was very wonderful. So, as the teacher of the Little Tigers, shouldn't you also show your skills? What do you think, everyone? Naturally, the audience cheered loudly and clapped their sticks loudly. For them, today's episode of New Star Show was undoubtedly very cool. Lu Chen was not pretentious and said straightforwardly, Then I will sing a song for everyone. Chapter 375. Lu Chen took the guitar sent by the staff of the TV station and tried to sound it in his arms. He felt a little rusty. Recently, he had been busy with the studio and the TV show. Most of the time he had for daydreaming was spent on romance with Chen Feier, so he rarely played the guitar. Now that he picked up the guitar again, Lu Chen couldn't help thinking of the simple and happy times in the past. At that time, he was still struggling to make a living, playing the piano and singing in front of the computer or in the bar every day. It seemed like it was yesterday. Everything had changed so quickly. After calming himself down, Lu Chen said to the microphone that had just been placed in front of him, Before going on New Star, the staff told me that you need to prepare a song. I'm surprised. I'm a guest on the show. Why should I sing? He said yes because you are a singer. When a singer goes on the show, he must sing. Everyone must want to hear it. Then I wonder, what song should I sing for everyone today? He looked like he was thinking. You who sat next to me. Those flowers. My brother who slept on the upper bunk. The audience responded enthusiastically, and all the songs they ordered were Lu Chen's famous works, ballads played on the guitar. Lu Chen smiled and said, Everyone has heard these songs. Today is a special day, so I'd better sing a new song. A new song? Of course, a new song is the best. Everyone applauded. Lu Chen enjoyed the applause for a moment and continued. In fact, there will be a very special day in a few days. It should be called a festival. I think everyone here has celebrated this festival, or at least you are the main characters of this festival. Children's Day. Someone shouted at once, and many people in the audience laughed. Lu Chen also laughed. Yes, it's Children's Day. I still remember when I was a child, celebrating Children's Day was very happy. So, students who are still qualified to celebrate this festival, you must cherish it. Laughter rang out again. Lu Chen casually plucked the strings and said, Childhood is the most unforgettable thing. It will never be forgotten. The name of this song is Childhood. I will give it to the Little Tigers and everyone here. I hope that you will. I hope that when you hear this song, you will remember your childhood just like me. The next moment, he played the prelude. Beijing television station's T2 broadcasting studio quickly quietened down. Even the most noisy boys and girls shut their mouths tightly as they stared at Lu Chun on stage with wide eyes. Because Lu Chen's songs required one to listen to them attentively. On the banyan tree by the pond, the cicadas were calling for summer. On the swing by the playground, only butterflies were perched on it. The teacher's chalk on the blackboard, he was still writing nonstop, waiting for the class to end, waiting for school to end. A childhood of waiting for games. The catchy melody and the somewhat heartless lyrics captured the hearts of the listeners in an instant. The rhythm of this song, Childhood, was very cheerful. It immediately made people recall the relaxed, happy, and carefree childhood life. It reminded them of the most brilliant, happiest, and most beautiful period of time in their memories. It gave people hope and made them look forward to it. It gave people desire and made them reminisce endlessly. Always have to wait until before going to bed. Only then know that little homework has been done. Always have to wait until after the exam. Only then know that the books that should have been studied have not been studied. An inch of time is an inch of gold. The teacher said that an inch of gold cannot buy an inch of time. Day after day, year after year, a blurry childhood. These lyrics could not help but make people smile. Perhaps it was a slightly bitter smile. Those who were slightly older could not help but feel a little sad and a little emotional when they heard it. However, they also missed the time when they were young, the years that had passed, and the ignorant childhood. In Lu Chen's dream world, this song, Childhood, was incomparably classic. It had deeply influenced several generations of people. In fact, it was a little critical in nature. However, putting aside the background of the creator's era, it still had infinite charm. There were a few lyrics that were not appropriate. Lu Chen made some small changes himself, but it did not affect its classic status. It was just a simple song, but how could it not bring out the memories and emotions that he had hidden deep within? Day after day, year after year, the childhood that I look forward to growing up. As his hands rose and fell, Lu Chen finished singing the song. Thunderous applause sounded in the studio, because the audience heard a good song that could touch their hearts. Thank you everyone. Lu Chen stood up with his guitar and bowed to the audience who cheered for him. He had completed his mission. Next, he would return the stage to the real protagonist. After the recording of Rising Star Show, Lu Chen could not resist Sister Li's insistence. He agreed to let her treat him to dinner that night. But before that, Lu Chen hurried back to his studio, because his sister had something important to tell him. It has been some time since Lu Chen's studio moved to its new home in the art park. At present, the development of various businesses is on track. The scale is much larger than before, and the number of employees has doubled. Of course, the recording studio, which was built with millions of dollars of investment, will not be empty. Because of the very advanced equipment and the increasing status of Lu Chen in the pop music world, many small and medium-sized record companies and entertainment agencies have recommended their singers and artists to come here to record songs. In the pop music world, top singer-songwriters like Lu Chen have the highest status, and his works have proved their strong market recognition countless times. Therefore, even if they can't buy songs from him for the time being or can't afford to buy songs from him, they're willing to form a good relationship with him. In addition to the arrangement and accompaniment of recording, Nirvana's work is full, and the studio has more and more formal company structure temperament. But She called Lu Chen over, not to talk about the studio's business, but an invitation from the Jeju City Culture and Tourism Department of Jeju Island, South Korea. The Jeju City government intends to hire Lu Chen as a travel ambassador. This invitation is very not simple, because generally speaking, tourism ambassadors are local stars or celebrities. Lu Chen, as a foreigner, can get an invitation from Jeju City, which undoubtedly breaks the precedent. The reason is that Jeju Island is vigorously expanding its tourism industry, aiming at the huge tourist resources of the mainland. As a rapidly popular star artist in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Chen's image and popularity fully meet the requirements. In addition, Lu Chen's Full of Romance has a large number of scenes in Jeju Island. Once it is broadcast, it will inevitably promote the tourism of Jeju Island, just in time to take advantage of it. Therefore, this honor fell on his head. Note: lyric/composer of Childhood, Luo Dayo. Chapter 376. 5 days ago, the official accounts of Lu Chun Studio and Chan Feier Studio launched a lucky draw for Korean games at the same time. This lucky draw came from the promise made by Lu Chun to all his fans on Wave's blog. As long as the ratings of Autumn in My Heart in Korea exceeded 10%, then he would draw the same proportion of fans based on the actual ratings and give them a 3-day, 2-night happy package. Then, Chun Feier directly changed the happy package into a 2-person tour. As a result, after Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted on Korea's KGS TV station, the average ratings reached 31%. This not only slapped the faces of those who were complaining about it on the blog, but also meant that 2,231 fans would enjoy this surprise gift. The official lucky draw started on May 22nd. Every day, the official VIPs of the two studios would draw 100 winners from their respective support groups until all the winners were drawn. Although this kind of lucky draw could draw all the winners on the same day through computer ranking, the publicity effect was not as good as drawing for more than 10 days in a row. Now, in Lu Chun and Chan Feier's support group, as well as the official forums of the two, lucky fans showing off the news of winning the prize had become a daily flaunt activity. Not only did it attract the envy of those who did not win, but passers-by were also jealous. The lowest prize for a 3-day, 2-night, 2-person tour in Korea was more than 5,000, which meant that Lu Chun and Chan Feier had to pay more than 10 million in real money. So the publicity effect was naturally excellent. And it was precisely because of its great influence that it attracted the attention of Korea. In the past 10 years, the number of domestic tourists in Korea had been increasing, bringing a large amount of income to Korea. At the same time, it was facing competition from Japan and Southeast Asian countries, so it paid great attention to domestic publicity. The Korean lucky draw organized by the two studios was undoubtedly an excellent publicity opportunity, so there was an endorsement invitation from the Jeju City Culture and Tourism Department. Regarding this invitation, Lu Chun had no reason to refuse. Although there was no high endorsement fee to be paid for a 1-year tourism ambassador endorsement, compared to a real advertising endorsement, it was like heaven and earth. However, this honor was very beneficial for Lu Chun to expand into the South Korean market. Especially with the great success of Blue, it could avoid a lot of trouble. Because Koreans were quite xenophobic, it wouldn't be a big deal if Blue suffered a setback in Korea's viewership ratings. However, it was precisely because of its huge success that some Koreans or their competitors would be extremely resistant to it. KGS's Autumn in My Heart had defeated MBC's Queen's Power in terms of ratings. The latter was MBC's blockbuster drama of the year. It could be said that it was a big loss of face. When KGS introduces Full House of Romance, it would be strange if MBC did not stir up some controversy. Such examples were not uncommon. In the past, many Japanese celebrities had suffered losses when they tried to enter the Korean market. They had a good start, but in the end, they ended up with a gloomy ending. Back then, SPG and KGS had made many requests for the collaboration of the new drama Full House of Romance. Apart from asking for benefits, it was also because of the pressure in this area that Lu Chun finally added a Korean storyline and added a few Korean celebrities to the cast. The purpose was to reduce the resistance that they might face in the future. Now that Lu Chun had the endorsement of the tourism ambassador, SPG and KGS could make a big deal out of the publicity. It was nothing more than an exchange of benefits. After dealing with the accumulated business in the studio, Lu Chun and she went to the hotel that sister Lee had booked for a banquet. At night, he returned to his home in Ziqing Yuan alone. Chan Feier was still in Jinling. The huge house seemed very quiet. Originally, Lu Chun had wanted to ask Lu Shi to move in as well, but his sister had rejected him outright. She did not want to be a third wheel. Fortunately, after taking a shower, Chun Fei called him. After being lovey-dovey for more than half an hour, the two ended the call. Although he was a little tired and had to return to Jinling early the next morning, Lu Chun did not rest immediately. Instead, he turned on his computer and logged on to Waves Reading. Waves Reading was one of the largest original online literature websites in China. With more than 50 million registered members and more than 100,000 contracted and resident authors, it had a great influence in the industry. Domestic online literature arose at the beginning of the new century. It was a new type of literature that flourished with the internet industry. After more than 10 years of development, it had formed a huge market scale. Fantasy, xinxia, urban, military, history, and supernatural. Although online literature had problems of good and bad, with the rich imagination and diligent writing ability of thousands of authors, it had firmly attracted the attention of a large number of young people, and in many ways had surpassed the traditional field. Waves Reading, QQ Literature, Hamo Academy, NetEase Chinese. Many domestic internet giants had divided the market in online literature and competed for the rich profits of literary IP, such as One Tianji, Tomb Explorer, The Immortals Rise and Storm, Love and Harem, and other films and TV series adapted from online novels have achieved great success in the market. While filming Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance, Lu Chun also turned his attention to this emerging hot land, with the intention of making achievements on big IP. His goals and ambitions were very big, but a popular IP was not something that could be easily created. Cutting in from online novels was undoubtedly the best choice, but today's online literature market had long been divided, and it had entered an era where the winner takes all. Excellent resources are basically in the hands of several big websites. These websites have many great God-level authors, whose works are widely praised by readers, and it is easy to create popular IP. And for the later newcomers, whether it is the website or the author, it is undoubtedly difficult to get a piece of the pie. Lu Chun has an understanding of today's online literature. He deeply understands that his big IP plan faces many tests, and it is not easy to succeed. Because the core of his big IP is wuxia. In Lu Chun's dream world, wuxia literature once flourished, and many famous masters appeared. There are countless films and TV series based on wuxia literature, and it still has a great influence even when his memory is broken. But in his own world, wuxia literature and wuxia films and TV series have appeared, but they declined very quickly. Now that the field of online literature has established a pattern, will there still be wuxia themes? Lu Chun also did not know. In a sense, wuxia is a low-level version of xuanhua novels. Online readers are used to high martial or even immortal martial level of xuanhua novels. They are familiar with battle energy, soul power, beast soul, and other dazzling terms of power. Will they like low martial wuxia novels? Lu Chun has taken time to read a few popular online xuanhua novels, and there is a big difference with the online xuanhua novels in his dream world. The latter was originally born out of wuxia novels, while the former is a mixture of Western fantasy literature and Japanese fantasy literature, and then localized works. If you compare it with the wuxia novels that he wants to write, then the difference is even greater. But no matter the result, since Lu Chun has made up his mind, then he will work hard to do it. At the worst, if this path does not work, he will choose another one. On the homepage of Waves, Lu Chun did not set up an author account with his blog account, but registered a new ID, Remembering Now and Now. This ID has a specific meaning, and in this world, only Lu Chun himself can understand it. After registering an account and registering a simple personal information, the author area of Remembering Now and Now was established. According to the system prompt, he can publish his work. Lu Chun opened the document stored in the USB drive. First copied a paragraph of 3,000 words to fill in the text. Then he typed in the title of the book. Lu Chun clicked Upload for review. This is the first step of uploading a new book. As long as it passes the review of the website administrator, it will be officially published. The moment he clicked the mouse, Lu Chan did not know whether this is the beginning of his failure or the beginning of his big IP plan. Everything will wait for the test of time and the market. Chapter 377. The day after the recording of Rising Star Show, Lu Chun returned to Jinling Film and Television City and re-immersed himself in the intense shooting process of Full House of Romance. Because this TV series involved many parties and all of them were powerful, the shooting went very smoothly, whether in South Korea or China. If there were no twists and turns, it could be seen to the TV audience in the summer. For Lu Chun, the shooting work was busy, but his big IP plan was equally important. Therefore, he took a lot of time every day to write, and then insisted on uploading to Wave for publication. It was just that this new book with the pen name Remembering Modern and Ancient was not very good. Strictly speaking, it was a flop. On the evening of May 27th, Lu Chun uploaded the book. Until June 5th, a total of 10 days, he uploaded a total of 60,000 words of text content. He updated 2 chapters of 6,000 words a day. According to the number of updates, Lu Chun's new book fully met the requirements of online literature. Usually, the author would not update too much during the period of a new book and would only increase the number of words after it was put on sale. But the data of the new book was really terrible. Hits, 420. Recommendations, 79. Favorites, 22. Comments, 58. Waves was one of the largest original literature websites in China. Because the associated blog was conducive to publicity, there were many authors stationed on the website. Among them, there were many great authors who had published several popular works that were made into big IP. The website claimed to have 10+ authors, but the real number was certainly not that many. Even so, the competition was extremely fierce, and it was very difficult for new authors to stand out. However, the website had a recommendation mechanism, and the signed works would be recommended. As long as the quality of the book was not too bad, it was still possible to stand out. The editor in the website would also pay attention to new books. A new book would be read by the editor when it had 10,000 to 20,000 words, and when it reached 50,000 to 60,000 words, it would be reviewed again. If the requirements were met, a signing letter would be sent to the author, and the author would enter the formal signing process. Lu Chun's new book didn't receive any replies from the site when it was 20 to 30,000 words. Now that it has reached 60,000 words, there was still no news. According to the words of the circle, it was cut by the editor. There was no future and no hope. During the period when Lu Chun posted on the internet, he also opened a QQ account and joined several new authors groups. He had a preliminary understanding of the online literature circle and knew a lot of rules of online literature. This made Lu Chun rather depressed. His ambitious big IP plan had only just begun, but he had already suffered a heavy blow. Let's not talk about the dismal click-through statistics. Out of the 58 comments, 49 of them were from other authors advertising and recommending their books to each other. Only 9 comments were from real readers, and most of them were negative. What kind of lousy book is this? It's boring to read. I'm leaving. The author's writing style is not bad. It's a pity that the plot is not attractive enough, and the beginning is abusive. I felt bored after reading a few chapters, so I gave up. I suggest that the author read more books by the gods and learn from them. F***CKME. Only one reader gave a positive review. It's a good novel. It feels like a traditional wuxia novel, right? Nowadays, there really aren't many people who write such books. If the author has an idea, I'll support him. This reader supported Lu Chun by tipping him 100 book coins. How much is 100 book coins? Chen Fei asked curiously. This heavenly queen of the music industry was lying on her bed in the hotel room, browsing through the comments of Lu Chun's new book on her laptop. She had no interest in online literature. In the past, she had only watched a few movies and TV series that were adapted from popular novels. Therefore, she basically had no understanding of online literature. It was only after Lu Chun used a sock puppet to open a book on Waves that her interest was piqued. Actually, Chen Fei did not like the genre of novels written by Lu Chun. She liked novels that were about emotions, and she had no love for such things. If it wasn't for Lu Chen's new work, she wouldn't even bother to pay attention to it. Cough. Lu Chen coughed and explained, it's equivalent to 1 renminbi. 1 renminbi? Chun Fei-er's pretty eyes widened, and her face was filled with disbelief. I thought it was 100 renminbi. In other words, you spent so much time writing 60,000 words and only earned 1 renminbi? Cough, cough. Lu Chun coughed even more violently. Actually, according to the rules of the website, I can only get 50 renminbi. Chun Fei finally could not hold it in anymore. She patted the blanket and laughed hysterically. 50 renminbi. Just 2 days ago, she and Lu Chun had taken out a total of more than 10 million renminbi to give to their fans. Now, Lu Chun had worked so hard and spent so much of their romantic time, but he only earned 50 renminbi. She was not mocking him, but she really could not hold it in. While laughing, Chun Fei said, "Who told you to not use your own name and use that newbie sock puppet? Now you've tasted the bitterness, haven't you? Serves you right for what you did." If Lu Chun had used his own name to start a new book, he could have casually announced it on his blog, and it was guaranteed that countless fans would come to support him. The gifts would definitely be like a downpour, and it would definitely not be such a miserable situation. Therefore, Chun Fei could not understand Lu Chen's behavior. In her opinion, the direction of Lu Chen's big IP plan was right, but why not use the popularity resources that he had accumulated? There was a ready-made shortcut, but he chose to climb a cliff. Therefore, she did not sympathize at all. In fact, the results of the new book were so bad that Lu Chen also felt a little regretful and thought about republishing it under his own name. However, the original intention of using a newbie sock puppet to start a book was to first test whether the theme of wuxia could be liked by the readers, rather than relying on fans to accumulate popularity and attention. There was a big difference between the two. If he could make the book popular using a newbie sock puppet, the data would be real and reliable, and then the big wuxia IP plan would really have a bright future. Moreover, Lu Chen also wanted to keep a low profile. In the end, the new book was a flop. He stubbornly said, "Let's do it. I have saved a lot of manuscripts. No matter what, I have to finish this book first. If I can't do it, then I will do it myself." This was the last choice, and it felt a little embarrassing. Chun Fei said coquettishly, "Then when are you going to stop writing? You haven't been with me recently and only care about playing computer games. Be careful that I kick you out and find someone else." Lu Chun pressed her under his body and said fiercely, "Stop dreaming. Don't even think about getting out of my palm in this life." Chun Fei suddenly cried out in alarm, "Help!" However, her mouth was immediately gagged, and she could only let out soft moans from her nose. The atmosphere in the room became incomparably charming. The laptop was thrown aside, and on the display area, the 4 big black characters of the smiling, proud wanderer were particularly eye-catching. Chapter 378. Give me a bottle of snow power and a pack of Red 5. In the West District of Jiang City, in the Flying Dragon Internet Cafe, hidden deep in the alley, Wang Pu put a 10 yuan note and his ID card on the counter. He looked around the smoke-filled room, and when he saw that his usual seat was still empty, he let out a sigh of relief and whistled at the girl at the bar counter. The girl at the counter glared at Wang Pu and threw the cigarette, drink, and ID card back to him. "You only have 15 yuan left in your card. Do you want to top it up?" Wang Pu grabbed it and laughed. "No hurry. I will use it later. There is no discount now." The girl at the counter rolled her eyes and turned her head away, ignoring him. Wang Pu didn't care. He sat down in his seat and turned on the computer skillfully. There were at least hundreds of big and small internet cafes in Jiang City. The Flying Dragon Internet Cafe was one of the most inconspicuous ones. It had a long history and backward conditions. The computers were all used for 4 or 5 years, almost to the point of obsolescence. The place was small. If he farted in his seat, half of the people in the internet cafe could smell it. Because of this, Although there was a no smoking sign, no one cared about smoking. The most important thing was that the Flying Dragon Internet Cafe was very cheap. It only cost 2 yuan an hour. Moreover, there would be a charge 100 for free event from time to time. Young people like Wang Pu, who lived at the bottom of the city, could also find their own cheap happiness here. The machine started slowly. Wang Pu was not in a hurry. He put the drink aside and tore open the pack of cigarettes. "Lao Wang, give me one." Suddenly, a low and hoarse voice came from the side, making people who heard it shudder. F***CK. Wang Pu, who was unprepared, was shocked. He turned his head and saw the guy next to him asking for a cigarette. Wang Pu knew this guy. "Guru, are you trying to scare me to death?" The guru was definitely a legend in the Flying Dragon Internet Cafe. Everyone who came to the Internet Cafe often knew him. He was about the same age as Wang Pu. He was unkempt and skinny. He always looked like he didn't have enough sleep. There were many stories about the Almighty. The most famous one was that he once fought continuously for 7 days and 7 nights in an online game that had just been released. He didn't even sleep for a day. His boss was so scared that he almost called the police, fearing that he would suddenly die in front of the computer. However, the Almighty's vitality was even more tenacious than a cockroach's. Wang Pu still looked the same as when he first came to Flying Dragon Internet Cafe a few years ago. Other than that, the Almighty never went to work and relied on playing games to earn money for his internet and meals. Towards Wang Pu's complaints, the Almighty didn't feel guilty at all. He continued to extend his hand. "Give me a cigarette. You win." Wang Pu took out half a pack of cigarettes and gave it to him. "I'll give you half. I'm a good friend, right?" The Almighty had played a game with Wang Pu before, so the two of them had some friendship. As for Wang Pu's generosity, the Almighty snorted disdainfully. "Half a bag of Hongwu is considered loyal? Bullshit." Wang Pu was fuming. He wanted to take the cigarette back, but the Almighty had already slipped it into his pocket. He even had one in his mouth. F***CK. Wang Pu retracted his hand resentfully. He held the mouse pad and opened the browser. At the same time, he logged into his QQ. DDD. The QQ avatar kept jumping. Wang Pu clicked on it one by one. He blacklisted those who swindled, borrowed money, and harassed him. He replied to a few messages from his friends. Finally, he opened the group chat of Laobai Group. Laobai Group was a large group of thousands of people. The composition of the hundreds of group members was very complicated. They ranged from doctors and professors to brick-moving workers. The only thing they had in common was that, like Wang Pu, they were all lovers of online novels, and they had a long reading age. Wang Pu was 25 years old this year. He had been reading online novels for 10 years. When he was in junior high school, he began to rent pirated books. He could read a book for 50 cents for a few days. Later, he found books online. It could be said that he had read countless books. For the current Wang Pu, reading online novels was the greatest joy he could obtain with the least amount of money. What he read on the internet was genuine, and he was a VIP subscriber that he could be proud of. However, most of his subscription coins were obtained through various activities on the book website, as well as the red packets sent by rich readers. It was just that recently, Wang Pu found that this happiness was becoming more and more difficult to obtain. It wasn't a matter of money. He still had a lot of subscription coins in his accounts on several big websites. It was just that there were fewer and fewer books that he could read, and his appetite. This was the greatest sorrow of a Laobai reader like Wang Pu. The more books he read, the higher his requirements would be. He could not accept those novels with rough writing, excessive fantasies, and serious routines. However, most of the websites were filled with such books. Wang Pu was helpless. He even thought about writing one himself. As a result, after writing thousands of words, he realized that writing a book was a very difficult thing. There were a lot of ideas in his head, but the text that came out through the keyboard was extremely awkward. He felt very embarrassed when he looked at it, so he could only give up. The problem of the lack of books couldn't be solved. Everyone, please recommend some books. It's best if it's new. I've basically read all the old books. Wang Pu shouted in the group. There's no more books to read. 10,000 tons of copper balls. Me too. I've been reading old books recently, and they're all wonderful ones. What the hell are they now? 8 Wilderness Demon Slayer is not bad. I strongly recommend it. I've just read it. It's not bad in Shinxia. I'm keeping it. I'm reading Midnight Tomb Watcher. It's very scary. The group members were all talking at once, recommending more than 10 books. However, Wang Pu was very disappointed because these books were either ones he had already read or ones he didn't like. Wang Pu liked fantasy, Xinxia, and historical online novels. Just as he was about to close the chat box and search on the website, a member with the ID Old Bookworm said, "I'm reading The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. It's very interesting. I recommend it to everyone." He also attached an address link. Wang Pu clicked on the address and opened a new book recommended by Old Bookworm, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The title was not bad. At least it wasn't some demon, god, emperor, tyrannical dragon. Hopefully there would be a surprise. There were quite a few people in the old white group, and there were many like Wang Pu who clicked on the address link. Everyone was lacking in books. Soon, someone complained in the group, Oh my god, Wuxia, isn't that an antique? Only 70,000 words. How can we bear to destroy such a young seedling? It hasn't even signed a contract yet, and the numbers are too low. Is it really a good book? Old Bookworm, are you recommending yourself? Recommending myself, +1. To be honest, Wang Pu also suspected that Old Bookworm was recommending himself or a friend. The book he recommended was not only not sign a contract, but also had a low word count and poor results. If it was really a good book, then wouldn't the editor of Waves Books have made a mistake? Hundreds of clicks, dozens of bookmarks. On a big website like Waves Books, he really couldn't fail again. Wang Pu had been in an author's group before, so he had some understanding of the online literature circle. And this wuxia theme was really out of the mainstream. The works in Waves Books were divided into fantasy, xinxia, urban, history, online games, sports, military, science fiction, supernatural, and so on. There was also a custom genre. The so-called custom genre allowed the author to define their own works, such as fantasy, sadomasochism, super science, and so on. Basically, they were all niche and imaginative works. The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer recommended by Old Bookworm was in the custom genre, and the author defined it as wuxia. Wuxia, in Wang Pu's impression, was really an antique novel. He vaguely remembered that when he was a child, he seemed to have read a book about a sword. It seemed to be written by a Xiangjiang author. Would this kind of book be the food that Old White liked? He subconsciously gave The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer, a negative score in his heart. Old Bookworm explained in the group, "It's really not recommending myself. I'm the food, you can read it yourself." Wang Pu thought that since he didn't have any books to read, it didn't matter if he contributed a few clicks to others. He would just consider it as supporting the newcomer. So he clicked to read the first chapter. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.